And here we are. After all this time, after all of the talk, after all of the speculation, after all of the people trying to think why this is a good idea or not, we have finally reached the Hyper 6 3-team 24-person relay race. My name is Dr. No. I'm here to help intro this race, and then once it gets started, I'm going to leave the commentary to the experts. Said expert joining us at the start of this is noted Hyper 6 participant in his own right, Author Blues. Auth, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm feeling particularly sad for these teams. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes right now, having to play Hyper 6. I barely want to play Hyper 6 myself.
Did someone ask you to participate in this relay and you wisely said no, or did
I absolutely said no. It wasn't even a question. I said not a chance.
Well, we have 24 people here who were not nearly as wise as you were, Auth. Just a quick rundown for those of you that haven't seen the teams list. On Team 1, the Haimari Fan Club, we have batting leadoff, Jen's Orbit, followed by White Moth, The Wild Grim, Third Wall, Rambo 18, Dode, Glackham, and the anchor, Link Dead himself. I have gone to dub this the Link Dead Memorial Hyper 6 Relay because even though he's not dead, everyone will probably want to kill him once this is over. Team 2, we agreed to this. Meek Rhino, Flez 1594, 810 Munoz, Mr. Mighty Mouse, Shovda, Spud, Glitch Cat, and the anchor Bolop 700. And the team of Vanilla Idiots, as they have chosen to refer to themselves as, we have BK, Brams, Truman, Dots Are Cool, Resifus, Louis, Seathorn, and the anchor Umario. Auth, why would a vanilla runner subject themselves to this baseness?
I don't know. They had an out. There were already two teams, and somehow a third team was conscripted at the last moment to put this together. I just don't understand the opportunity to see that a race is already happening. It's already been organized, and say, yes, I want to get in on that. But you really have to take a lot of pity on these the people running anchor on these teams. World 8 is its own. I mean, it doesn't even compare to what anyone else is going to have to deal with. World 6 is maybe a close second, but World 8 is on an entirely different scale. I mean, I feel so bad for everyone but Link Dead here.
I mean, I feel bad for Link Dead, but for different reasons. So here's how this whole thing is going to work out. Each player is going to take one world of Hyper 6. They know which Switch Palaces they have to get. I think it's all of the Switch Palaces except Blue. And the racers from, I believe, Worlds 2 through 8 are allowed to start with whatever power-up they choose. But other than that, it's a straight-up relay race. Start at the beginning, end at the end.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting because for all the sort of build-up I'm doing about how terrible Hyper 6 is, the levels might be miserable to play casually, but there is actually a lot of potential for cool speedrun strats. So I think this race is going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the worlds that I didn't spend as much time with to see how they can be broken, because really nobody beats the later worlds without breaking them in some small way. So I feel like I'm prepared for what's coming there, but I'm actually really interested to see what the earlier worlds look like.
Well, you won't have to wait much longer because we are gonna get things going.
Yeah, we've got just a few minutes here before we're going to be starting up. I think it's going to go really well. You know, if you've never seen Hyper 6 before, you might accidentally be fooled into thinking that all this buildup has been for nothing, because World 1 actually isn't all that painful. What we're going to see, though, is that quality changes drastically right out of World 1.
So batting leadoff, we have Jin's Orbit, Meek Rhino, and BK. BK will be joining us on commentary, will be taking over for me, because BK knows way more about this game than I ever will or care to.
So BK is starting World 1?
BK is starting World 1 for the Vanilla Idiots, yes.
Fantastic. I see that BK managed to get a hold of an actual decent world for himself. I think that's great. I would do the same thing if I were in charge of organizing people to play this game. I would definitely opt to play World 1.
So, for those of you that are not familiar with Hyper 6, Hyper 6 is an actual hack. It is not a meme. It is not an urban legend. It is not a horror movie disguised as an SMW hack. It is an actual hack made by Haimari. There are at least 5 other Hypers. No one ever plays them.
Yeah, this one took a pretty drastic turn in difficulty from my understanding. I've been told that the other ones are pretty playable, but this one really ramped it up. Which is probably the reason why people don't play the old Hypers, is because how often do you play extremely old ROM hacks that don't really have anything particularly notable about them?
It's a fair question. As Jen actually with the lead coming right off of this. Again, as Oth mentioned, we've got 8 worlds of this, so buckle up. This is going to be a long, long race, and don't let this world lull you into a false sense of security. You can make the argument the real race doesn't start probably until World 4.
Yeah, World 6 is definitely a big ramp up. I mean, I can really only speak to my casual playthrough. I started out pretty strong. I was finishing off, about a world per hour, and then that goes all the way up to World 6, which took, like 12, and World 8 has been going for probably 30 hours at this point. So, there's a pretty distinct difference in difficulty level across this hack. And World 1 just doesn't even compare to what we're going to see going through this.
So right now we've got Jen with a bit of a lead. Again, it's very early, but Jen is not.
Jen's doing a great job holding on to power-ups. I mean, there's no cape in World 1, and so really the best you can ask for is double flowers, and she's holding that really well.
Jen has been working as much as anyone should ever take Hyper 6 seriously. Jen has been putting in a lot of work. All of our racers have been putting in a lot of work for this relay, playing way more Hyper 6 than anyone ever should, which is any.
Yeah, I guess we could speak a little bit about, so this hack obviously is being raced for this relay because of its reputation for being, if not bad, at least incredibly difficult. But I think it's worth noting that, it's debatable really what the background of this hack really is. It's a fairly old hack, and there's, some evidence that the author probably did beat it without tool assistance, but I think that it's hard to argue that this hack wasn't designed with things like save states and rewind in mind, especially as it gets more difficult through the rest of the hack. So keep in mind as you're watching some of these later levels and the hack really ramps up in difficulty considerably, that these players are not playing this hack the way that it was probably intended to be played. It was intended that these really challenging portions are going to be mitigated by being able to save state your way through it. That's obviously not the way we're going to be playing it here today.
And I think something else to clarify for people that may have heard of this but don't exactly know what it is. Hyper 6 is by and large considered to be not a Kaizo hack.
No, absolutely not.
The difficulty in Hyper 6 is not the same difficulty as the hardest of Kaizo hacks. It's a very different type of
So Jen grabbing the secret exit here and heading straight into our first Switch Palace, Yellow Switch Palace. Yellow Switch Palace is pretty vanilla, a little bit challenging just because of the enemy placement throughout, but really not that bad.
Jen making that look easy.
Effortless.
But no yump.
No yump, sadly.
Oh.
The overworld design in this hack is actually really fascinating. A lot of the secret exits do send you backward, which kind of disincentivizes you from hunting for them, with the exception of the few that take you to a switch palace. And then in later worlds, there are some really interesting choices that are made with the overworld design that I feel like we don't really see as much with ROM hacks these days. I feel like ROM hacks these days might have branching paths, but they do tend to be relatively vanilla in their overworld design. This one gets pretty creative. For instance, in World 3, there is a straight path straight to the end of the world right out the gate, but you have to beat sort of these hub levels to unlock the paths that go there. So it's kind of an interesting overworld design, and we're going to see more of that. This hack starts out pretty vanilla, as you can see, and ramps up from there.
Yeah.
Generally making some of these levels look easy. I mean,
Yeah.
World 1 obviously pales in comparison to the later worlds that we're going to see, but World 1 is no slouch on its own. I mean, World 1 has some
For sure.
challenging jank in it, and Jen is just prepared. You can tell that she has practiced a lot for this.
Meek Rhino really isn't that far behind. And I mean, we're saying a lot about Jen, but all of our racers right now are not that far off from each other.
Absolutely not.
And
No,
BK
I think we're
with
seeing Meek's first pass through this stage, and BK just finished the switch pal, so he'll be going back. I mean,
BK with representing the vanilla Mario runners well with the yump on the Switch Palace.
The most important of the contributions that the vanilla runners can provide is that hopefully we will see lots of yumps.
So, how important are the Switch Palaces to progress in Hyper 6, in your opinion?
So, some of the later worlds really lean heavily on the switches bailing you out of some really tough stuff. But for the most part, I would say that this hack, when compared to some others, is much more completable without the switch palaces than some hacks might be. It's certainly not mandatory, at least. Though, I mean, the switch palaces do bail you out of having to do some pretty obnoxious stuff, even by Hyper 6's standards.
Mm-hmm.
BK continuing to make sure that he keeps his oh, and clipping right through a corner there.
There's our first clip of the race.
Yeah, probably won't be our last.
We'll make sure we ask BK about that when he joins us after his after his world.
All of these wooden blocks we're seeing are bounce blocks, so they're all set up in such a way to really punish you if you aren't prepared for them.
Jen is unstoppable right now. She is cruising.
Having no trouble at all. Worth mentioning also is that these players are playing on the quality of life version of this ROM hack that was modified, I believe, by BK himself. So it's all got infinite lives, faster overworld movement, constantly saving. It's what most of these players have played on before, which just makes sense why they would use it here as well. Meek Rhino taking a death in the stage right before the castle. Jen really just continuing to truck on. It's hard not to focus on Jen's vantage point a little bit here because she's the one showing us some new stuff here and there. This castle is an auspicious view into what is coming in the rest of this ROM hack. It starts to get, you know, maybe not quite to the point of being unethical, but it starts to get a little bit difficult here. So
it is a sign of things to come for sure. Also, you'll notice that this first world has been very, if not vanilla, at least very Mario-centric in the sense that you see, like, Super Mario All-Stars graphics. You've got, you know, Yoshi's Island graphics here. It gets a lot more custom going forward. So it's a nice sort of way of describing it ramps up, not just in difficulty, but in chocolateness going forward as well.
Meek Rhino taking that damage boost to get into that pipe. Things were getting a little bit hairy there, and he said, I'm just going to get out of here. Gonna see our first boss here on Jen's side. Most of the bosses, at least early on, are straight up vanilla bosses. So that was Iggy, but with Larry's Potaboos in the room. As we continue on, many of the early worlds just have vanilla bosses. Kind of a nice treat when the worlds are fairly difficult to have it end without being punished by some, Kaizo-inspired boss. But as we get much later in the hack, we'll see that even that changes, and some of the bosses become downright unethical.
You also see that this is an English version of the hack. I do not know if the original was in English, but we have our first world change. We're going to go to White Moth, who is taking over for Team 1, the Haimari Fan Club. We've got Meek Rhino working on the castle in World 1, and we've got BK with one level behind Meek Rhino.
He's just cleaning up real quick.
And this is a chance for them to catch up because White Moth is kind of stuck in an auto-scroller right now.
Yeah, this is not a short level. This is where it starts to get pretty challenging. The hack doesn't ramp up slowly, I guess, is the point. World 1 is its own thing. Almost seems like it's copied and pasted from a completely different place, because World 2 is really where the hack completely starts going off the rails.
You'll notice Meek just picked up the star H. If you're wondering where the H came from, the meme that H now means midpoint. Part of it is because, well, if you look at it, it looks like an H when you hit a mid-tape, but also the H for hyper or Haimari, however you want to say it, midpoint star here. Anytime you see a racer pick up that star, it just means they picked up a midpoint.
It's such a beautiful sight later in the hack. I mean, just finding the midway point, you finally made it 10% of the way through the level.
Meek Rhino is going to be taking on the boss.
Well done. Clean boss kill while we see BK here cleaning up as well, about to head into the boss himself.
We're going to bring in... Sorry. No, we're just going to bring in our next runner for... the We Agreed to This team, which is Flez. Flez is waiting on the cue from Meek to get going. Hopefully Flez's stream is still working okay, but yeah, it looks like we're good to go.
You can see that this auto-scroller is pretty long. We've had ample time for the next team to enter the auto-scroller before White Moth even got out of it.
We got BK entering the first boss fight. Ooh.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, those Potaboos put a lot of pressure on you, especially if you're small.
And, going into that fight without a Fire Flower is tricky enough as it is if you're going for speed. Adding in those Potaboos is not going to help.
This is sort of the point I was making before was one trend throughout Hyper 6 is that the midway points are really improperly placed, almost comically so. The midpoints are nowhere near the halfway point of the level, and really dying with a midway point sets you most of the way back. So unfortunately what that ends up meaning here is that BK is playing a lot of level again.
There it is, though. We're good. BK has cleared the boss fight. All three of our teams are out of World 1. 15 minutes. Still making really good time, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So BK is going to be joining us whenever you get a chance to hop on commentary. In the meantime, we're going to bring in the next runner for the Vanilla Idiots, which would be Brams.
I can't believe all of my friends have got roped into this. I feel bad for them, but it was their choice, you know?
Entirely. Sometimes you have to let people make their own bad decisions.
That's true. White Moth really crushing this level, by the way. The underwater portion of it is really absurd, as you saw. Made it look really effortless. And then in this portion, just continuing to plug away. The tide's actually working against you here, so planning out how you're going to make it through these sections can be really tough. Another one of these trends throughout Hyper 6 as well is the sort of stacking of challenges, the way that rather than just having some challenge you need to overcome, it always seems to be doubled and tripled up in such a way where you kind of have to contend with multiple different things simultaneously. We're starting to see that here with, you know, for instance, pipes that contain 2 different types of plants and a bullet bill launcher on top of it all at the same time. Figuring out how those cycles work out so that you can actually play the level can be quite a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
White Moth with the first cape in the hack.
That's gotta feel good.
It is pretty nice to have a cape to fly through things. You might feel like that's going to become, you know, since this isn't a Kaizo hack, it does give power-ups, and doesn't really seem all that concerned with preventing you from taking those power-ups into future levels. You may think that it'll just become the trend to fly through every single level, and while that's true, Haimari seemed to be prepared for that and just disabled flight in some of the stages, so that won't solve all of our problems, at least. See Brams down here actually contending with some really obnoxious geometry. I imagine Haimari just must have had a lot of fun sliding in these little gaps and decided to add that to, I don't know, a quarter of the stages.
We got a yump for White Moth, so we got a yump for Team 1 and a yump for Team 3 in the only race that really matters.
Seems like Team Haimari Fan Club is really breaking away.
I know.
With these yumps.
You see, like, I think from my understanding of watching people play Hyper 6 with the cape, early levels cape is a luxury. In the later worlds, cape becomes an absolute necessity if you want to escape with any semblance of your sanity or a sense of accomplishment.
Right. Yeah, not advisable to go without one for some of these later worlds. I'm actually really interested to see the way that Cape breaks a lot of these levels. When I was playing through it, at least until World 8, I was trying to make a point of only using the power-ups that I was given. So if a stage didn't provide a cape, I wasn't using it. And I'm really excited to see the ways that really that's going to break things, is having cape readily available.
Hello, my dear friends.
Hey, BK.
BK.
What's up, Oth? How are you doing?
Good. Congratulations on completing World 1. Now you finally get to laugh at everyone else.
Yeah, that really is the only downside to having the first world. The only upside, I should say.
Right, well, with
so
that...
what is it
yeah.
White Moth is trying to do here? White Moth is actually flying under the level at the end of here.
You engaged with the Bucloud room, did you not? Because I don't think you knew about dive storage when you played this level.
I didn't know about dive storage when I played this level.
Yeah, so what White Moth and Brams are going to try to do, and maybe Flez. So when you're in a dive bomb in Super Mario World, say you're diving to the right, And if you press left, you will go out of the dive and slow down, and your cape animation changes. The funny thing, though, is that that basically stores your previous state, which is your dive state, and you can recover it almost instantaneously. And in any case, a lot faster than you would be able to go into a dive from a non-dive flight state. So that's what they're doing here. They're going to store their dive, and when they get to the bottom tile of the level, they're going to do a very quick right-left input. I believe the window is a few frames for the one tile gap that they're trying here. And that's going to let them sticky fly under the level. And they're doing that because there is a terrible room which has a boot cloud and a bunch of platforming if you go into the yellow pipe, which is the intended solution for the normal exit to this level.
Oh, but the remainder of the level is actually off to the right.
Yes, if they sticky fly under, about a screen to the right, when they fly up, there's going to be the checkpoint and the remainder of the level.
Oh, nice.
A common design pattern, I would say, in this hack is the checkpoint is, just a sticky fly away out of the first room. And that's due to the fact that in 2010, if you wanted a checkpoint, the checkpoint must be in the first sublevel of the level. And so if you don't wall it off carefully, players might be able to get at it from the first room. And yeah, he got it. That's what that looks like. He just skipped a very terrible room.
Not unlike most of the other rooms.
Fair point.
So we have
there goes our
Brams.
Yum streak.
We have Flez and Brams both cleaning up the Red Switch Palace and able to move on now.
That is
They are neck and neck right now.
That is one Yump per team right now, by the way.
Oh, this level, the infinitely running right level.
So BK, I know you were the one that helped make the first sort of quality of life patches for this level. Were you the one that helped translate it into English, or was it already in English when you got your hands on it?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, sir.
No, I didn't do any of the translation. The translation was done along with console compatibility, since this was, in its beginnings, a ZSNES only hack, due largely, if not completed, to the old version of Add Music. And I believe it was Supermax64 who had a big part in the translation and console compatibility. This was for Talkhouse originally, I think, and there's also a thread on SMW Central with it. And then on top of that, I added the quality of life stuff so that it was feasible to play without save states. I did none of the translation. Okay, who translated it then? Out of curiosity.
Well, Bram's going for a really nice spin double fly. Ended up accidentally running into the saws, but still a great attempt there.
This Iamine, okay, so this Iamine is who we have to thank for the translation and console compatibility.
Space Neurosis, thank you so much for the subs, and Tofu, thank you for the bits. they're coming in fast, and we're trying to keep up with the race, but we see you and we appreciate you guys. Just for everyone that doesn't know, all of the subscriptions and bits that come to this channel do get turned back around into the community. We fund prizes, we do commissions for art, we do other events to support the community. So all of your subs and bits to this channel are just going to turn around and help the community out. So we do appreciate, we don't want to take too much away from the race, but thank you guys so much for your support. We do appreciate it.
Fled's making really good use of the cape, able to skip quite a few of the obstacles through there.
I don't know if this joke has been made while I was playing World 1, but Hyper 6 is the best cape hack of 2010.
We didn't bring that up, BK, but we did.
Quite likely.
We did notice, BK, that you had the first death to clipping through a corner of any of our racers. So we may not have noticed that about the cape hack, but we did note that development.
It seems to be a curse of mine. Back when I ran all switches for the big online relay on twitch.tv/Super Mario World, I clipped through the steep slope in Vanilla Dome 1 in a similar fashion, so that's cool.
Yeah, some of these blocks just don't really have any visual indication that they are breakable, but, you know, that's part of the surprise and the charm of Hyper 6 is two blocks next to one another that look exactly the same and operate differently.
This hack is nothing if not charming.
Another part of the charm of this hack is blocks that you can't see on your television because they are below the screen cutoff. But they're there, and you're expected to use them.
Oh, there's a lot of those, too. Yeah, it's definitely not a cropping issue with these streams. If you're playing it, most of these things you wouldn't be able to see anyway.
White Moth with some really fancy cape work to get through that section.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Getting at least a little bit lucky with the cape turnarounds, but using it to fantastic success.
This ghost house that Brams is currently playing through is the first instance of advanced darkness in this hack. We had some regular darkness in World 1, but the advanced darkness permeates the rest of the hack here and there.
What's the difference
Like
between
perhaps
this
Haimari
darkness?
just learned the technique halfway through making the hack?
So what is the difference between regular darkness and advanced darkness?
Advanced darkness it's just darker. It's a lot darker. Most people who play on CRTs need to like change up their brightness and contrast settings to even see anything in the advanced darkness levels.
Well, then they should have played it on Z-SNES. The way it was intended.
Z-SNES keyboard on the computer monitor, yeah.
So how long are we anticipating this relay is going to end up taking? I mean, I've heard a lot of different numbers. None of them are even marginally close to one another. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about how long this relay might actually end up running.
The number I heard from LinkDead was 5 hours. Which...
Well, I believe that there's a realistic chance that LinkDead could finish World 8 in 5 hours, but unfortunately he's being held back by 7 worlds going before him.
we will just have to wait and see together what the fates have in store for us here. Ooh. This is given. I think that unfortunate death is giving Flez an opportunity to make some progress in catching up. All of the like Oth was saying earlier, all of these levels can be rather oppressively long at times, and well, when you get the end of it and you die, sometimes it means you have to go all the way back.
Yeah, it's really a testament to that White Moth has had such a breakaway lead for quite a while, and he still isn't even close to the end, with Flez having already entered the castle. So oppressively long is a fantastic way of putting it.
I mean, oppressively fill in the blank can be used to describe so many things here.
It's oppressively fun.
Say what you want about Hyper 6, but at least it's never boring. It's got a lot going on to keep your attention.
Keep your attention is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, that's the highest compliment I will be paying to Hyper 6 today.
Don't look now, but White Moth and Flez are almost synced up right with where they are.
One legitimate compliment for this hack is that it has by far the best wall jump blocks of any wall jump blocks that have existed up until I think last year, and then somebody made ASM that resembled the wall jump blocks here.
Flez actually the first to get to the boss.
Yeah, we're in our Lemmy fight. At this point, I think you can really appreciate what this hack is trying to do. Flez just broke away, coming in here with Cape, using it to such great effect. Really managed to entirely close the gap and even pass by White Moth.
And the never-ending bonus just keeps going. So that means
I think we're going to be seeing both Team 1 and Team 2 moving on to our next players.
Which means we're bringing in 810 Munoz for Team We Agreed to This. And we are bringing in the Wild Grim on his alt account to be playing World 3 for Team 1 and Team 2 respectively.
So they both choose, if I'm not mistaken, different levels to start with. This world does not ask you to do things in any particular order. You just have to complete a certain set of stages in order to unlock the path that heads to the castle.
And again, I believe we mentioned this, but it's worth repeating. I believe racers were allowed to pick a power-up to start the world with. So they had their choice of whether they wanted to start with a fire flower or a cape.
Yeah, you're allowed to start your world with any power-up combination you want, except World 1, since we had to start from the title screen and a new save file.
Yeah, if you didn't notice, those bridge blocks actually will break. Because of course they will.
it's maybe not obvious looking at Dwalgrim's screen right now, but basically behind every single foreground tree, there is no actual ground underneath that. So when you see him running straight across, that's just him having built up enough speed to be able to do so. Holding down the jump button, whatever. But that's a pretty big gotcha in this stage, is that there's actually no ground beneath those.
So Grim picks up a cape. Meanwhile, Munoz is just doing his thing, just flying over the level. Meanwhile, Brams is actually going back, power-up farming to take some power-ups into the Second World Castle. I imagine we will be seeing some power-up farming extensively later on in this relay.
Oh yeah, for sure. So 10 Munoz, wrapping up the exit for the stage. There's several different approaches to beating this stage. All of them will kill you except for this specific choice right here. Finding a hidden P-switch in order to make that bridge, and then collecting the orb. If you go
I actually wonder if it's possible to clip into that steep slope as you're in the fanfare.
God, I hope so.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, that was better. Now I'm hoping we see that, because it's just the cherry on top of the Hyper 6 Sunday.
Oh yeah.
What's in a Hyper 6 Sunday?
Regret, stubbornness,
Poor life choices.
cycling quickly between elation and depression as you make progress in levels, then die, then make more progress.
Despite it all, I actually have had quite a good time playing this hack. I don't know if it's just like not valuing myself or my free time enough, but there's just something so great about beating a level when you've struggled against it for 12 hours. The feeling cannot be matched.
Oth, I believe that's how cults are formed.
Rams gave it his best shot trying to dupe that block. I don't blame him. He's not got the power-ups he wants right now. So I think he's gonna try.
The dupes in your playthrough have been impeccable, Oth.
Well, if there's one thing I'm good at in Super Mario World, at least it can be dupes. At least it could be the fixing my mistakes.
Unfortunately, Brams
Thank you,
loses.
I appreciate it.
Brams loses his power-up in just the perfect spot to watch his backup fall hopelessly through the wall.
It just hurts to watch. Brams, again, part of the team that was conscripted at the last minute, and somehow, recognizing the opportunity to say no to this, didn't say no. For our joy, for our amusement, but obviously not for their own self-care.
Yeah, BK, how did this third team arise? Because it was two teams for a very long time, and then all of a sudden, the vanilla SMW community rose up as one and said, we want in on this.
So, Umar, who is the team captain and World 8 runner for the Vanilla Idiots, was invited to our Discord where we started coming up with strats for stuff, and he was the one who taught us dive storage and incorporated it into a bunch of strats like room skips and stuff. And after finding all these strats, I guess he had the urge to participate himself. And so, he went to all his friends, which are vanilla speedrunners by and large, and said, hey guys.
Oh my god, Brams is saving us.
You got this, Brams. Not dead.
You know what? Great point. The one downside of this quarantine is nobody is on standby to give Brams a hug when this is over. Do you think that Umar is going to have as many friends after inviting them all to this relay?
That's a very good question.
I think it remains to be seen how.
So I was actually going to run World 2 for one of the two teams in the beginning, and then I realized the error of my ways before it was too late, and I gave my spot to White Moth. But then Umar asked me if I would run World 1 for his team, and I said, okay.
Wow. Walgrim with a really just clean and easy shell jump to make short work of the last half of that stage. That was a really nice strat.
Yo, real quick, Golden Rules, thank you so much for that $66.66 donation. Thanking us for everything we do for the Hyper 6 community. First of all, I'm just now learning Hyper 6 has a community. But I guess if there is one, we're happy to help. So, speaking of which, Brams has made it to the boss fight
with 2 capes, by the way, and he had learned the error of his ways. He previously, oh, I didn't even know you could hit him through the spikes. He previously had tried to jump off of a moving shell. This time he was smart enough to just smash the shell and say screw it. With that, we have Team 3 cleaning up World 2.
All right. You'll have to give me a second because this is gonna, I promise this will make sense.
So, filling in for Truman, whose power went out at about 4:59 p.m., is linked at X2, a very prominent vanilla runner earlier in the era of running vanilla.
And resident Truman surrogate.
Yeah, he's gonna play World 3 for us.
No, this is not Link Dead. This is the Slope Muncher creator, not the Link Dead that's the captain of Team 1. This is not Link Dead, who you may know from creating Super Slope Muncher as well as other SMW related
my
atrocities.
brain didn't even put together the fact that he's actually on a different team. Until you said that, it didn't even occur to me. He's not on Team 3.
Yeah, no, he's doing double duty. He's doing World 3
for us. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. He can sabotage Team 3 appropriately now. If he makes any mistake, if he makes even a single mistake in World 3, we'll know that it's sabotage.
Some people in chat are accusing Truman of conveniently having a power outage at 4:59.
This actually runs deeper then. That means Truman is in on this conspiracy to sabotage Team 3.
I think you can apply Occam's razor here, though, and just say that Truman doesn't want to play anymore.
Yeah, that checks out.
I can't say I blame him.
I'd flip the breaker too if I were in Truman's shoes.
Maybe pay someone to, like, cut down the power lines, give himself some plausible deniability if this is investigated.
Truman is streaming right now, says Weird Dad. God, I hope that's true.
Meanwhile, while we're investigating this potential sabotage, Grim has actually cleared World 3, which means we are moving on to our next runner.
Dwal Grim actually made remarkably short work of World 3. I mean, the hardest stages in World 3 are the optional ones, but World 3 is no slouch either. I mean, rather impressive to have completed it so quickly.
So the next runner for the Haimari Fan Club is Third Wall. And we have hit World 4.
BK, do you know where these graphics are from Third World Stream? This stage right here?
I do not. Do you happen to know?
I do. It's from an obscure SNES game called Dino City. Finally, everything that I've been building up for my entire life has led to this moment right now where I happen to recognize these stupid sprites from Dino City.
I was about to say, I am not surprised that you happen to know that it was from an obscure SNES game. Do you happen to have the world record in the speedrun for that game?
I did for a long time. I do not now. I'm a washed up speed boy now.
So, BK, can you kind of tell us how the roadmap of World 4 works? Because you started off with a secret exit, but it just took you to another level.
Yeah, there's a few secret exits that just circumvent single levels, and then later in the world there's secret exits that take you back to previous levels, so there's really no rhyme or reason to whether or not a secret exit is a good thing or a punishment. Though that changes in later worlds, the secret exits are always punishments.
Has anyone been able to confirm if Truman is actually streaming or not right now?
Munya's, I believe, heading into the end of World 3 now. Another vanilla boss fight. As I said previously, a lot of the boss fights are vanilla. That will change toward the end of the hack.
There's no feeling quite like getting through some multi-room ridiculous gauntlet and like having to fight a vanilla boss at the end.
It's that moment where you say, yes, I will be surviving this.
That's one of the nice things about older hacks before custom bosses really like took off. And this may well be another instance of like Haimari figured it out like halfway through the hack.
That would make a lot of sense, yeah.
We're bringing in the next batter for the We Agreed to This team, Mr. Mighty Mouse, who before this I was fairly certain had much better taste, but I guess I was wrong.
Mighty Mouse flying over the first level in World 4. All that effort, all that work to beat these levels, and I could have just grabbed a cape.
It should be mentioned that in some levels Haimari disables flight, but it's usually in the first sublevel, and we haven't really noticed a pattern in the levels that he chooses to disable cape in. But all the time, maybe, but definitely most of the time, he forgets to put the no flight sprite after the checkpoint. So like, even if your level starts out with you not being able to fly, if you get the checkpoint, you can usually take off after the checkpoint.
It's just a sprite that disables it?
Yeah, it's a sprite generator, I believe.
That's incredible. Which would explain why it's often not turned off for sublevels, I guess? It's because it would need to be reactivated or something?
Yeah, you'd have to put it in that sublevel where the player spawns, yeah.
Fantastic.
We had a question in chat. If all the teams are using all the same Switch Palaces. Yes, all the teams are going to be getting the yellow, red, and green Switch Palaces. No one is going to be getting the blue Switch Palace, and I think that's just because we respect people too much to ask them to get the blue Switch Palace.
The blue switch is actually intended to be required for a door entry in World 8.
Oh, that's right! I forgot all about that door.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are they going to do it without the blue switch, though?
There is a fairly reliable wall clip that you can use to enter the door, because you will recall that the door is
against a
Is
wall.
directly against a right wall.
That's incredible. That still makes it a 1-frame door input, though, right? We'll
I
see.
think if you just hold up and you get the wall clip, you enter the door automatically. No?
That's not standard for Super Mario World, at least.
Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah, I do wonder about that. I forgot who came up with the strat, but they said it was quite consistent.
I mean, if you can get the wall clip, that means that it's consistent to the extent that you can get the 1-frame door input. God, this level is such a train wreck. I'm sorry, I'm reminded of having played it.
Third Wall had a fire flower and chose to just swim right past it in order to just make progress. And makes the progress, gets the orb, and gets out of the ship.
The reason Eldad is playing the world pretty competently is because Munoz, who is another team's World 3 runner, was in Eldad's chat and complained about having trouble with World 3, and so Eldad just loaded up Hyper 6 and came up with some strats on the fly, which I guess he is now repeating for our team. It's a fortuitous coincidence.
Awful nice guy.
That hidden block gave me a heart palpitation, even though I knew it wasn't going to kill him. And Third Wall has clipped through the floor.
Yeah, it's actually not too hard to do that if you can find a slope in the level. I assume that's how he got out of bounds. I wasn't paying attention right at that moment.
Something else that this hack applies inconsistently is anti-cheese for getting under water levels. There are, I'm assuming they're custom blocks that appear in later water levels, which will bounce you up if you hit the bottom of the screen, making it impossible to swim underwater levels. But this obviously is not one of those.
The end of this level is unethical, having a layer 3 tide in a room that has vertical scrolling enabled.
Does the boss bass rise and fall with the layer 3 tide?
I think Boss Bass is locked down to the bottom. But it's just so hard to visually predict what's going to happen because the tide moving with the camera really throws you off. This is another, Haimari special, giving you this excruciatingly long auto-scroller under duress of 2 different types of Magic Koopas the whole time.
I'm legitimately impressed that all of these otherwise perfectly responsible people with streams and plans of their own have voluntarily sacrificed not just the time to participate in this relay, but to rep these worlds and get these strats down to a point where Third Wall is making really good progress. Mighty Mouse is making really good progress. I mean, Link Dead literally being subbed in for the other team at the last minute. Not totally flopping around like a fish out there. More people have put effort into this game than I think anyone would have predicted a year ago.
I blame BK.
Yeah, I think that's
Personally.
fair. I think that's fair.
I agree. That's fair.
So, BK, was Eldad the first person that you made a Hyper 6 deal with? Or was there another person that started the whole Hyper 6 chain meme?
So the lore behind this game's popularity on Twitch begins with Rezafos, my son. He played this game just because he's a bad ROM hack connoisseur. He doesn't commit to beating them, but like he'll play them for a while. And so he was playing this. He got to World 5 until he began save stating, I believe. And then I watched a lot of this and I thought, wow, this is horrific. I've not seen anything quite like this before. And so I kept that in the back of my head. Then one day, in LinkedIn's Discord, we were discussing ROM hack difficulties as a function of number of stars, like 1 through 5 stars. And LinkedIn made the comment that all non-Kaizos are 1 star. And I said, if you beat Hyper 6, I'll beat Storks. Storks was at the time one of the hardest Kaizo hacks that were ever made. Not really anymore, but back then it was pretty rough. And he took me up on it. And after 9 months and 125 hours beating Storks, he went and played through Hyper 6. And it took him 90 hours. So the suffering wasn't exactly even, but I came pretty close.
Yeah, Third Wall just took a death, but they did get the H right before, so not as bad as it could have been. But it does give Mighty Mouse a chance to make up some time.
Through the experience, Eldad has come around with regard to difficulties of hacks. He was recently quoted as saying, new Super Mario World ROM hack players think that Kaizo is scary, but experienced ROM hack players know that non-Kaizo is the scary one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great cape control there from LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn is one of the OG cape enthusiasts for cheesing ROM hacks. So this is very much his territory.
Mighty Mouse found himself in an unenviable position of spin jumping on those turn blocks. I think he was desperately hunting for one of them to stop him from spinning, but sadly it wasn't going to happen.
Opting not to go power-up farming, though, and just hopping right back into the level. Third Wall has found his way onto the ceiling.
I never understood the World 3 castle. The checkpoint seems to leave you right next to the boss, even though there's clearly more level remaining.
Well, with that,
I think we're just not smart enough to understand this level design.
That's true.
it is above and beyond us. Well, Not Linkdead's conscription has now officially ended. and LinkedIn can go back to focusing on defeating the team he just helped advance.
Thanks, Aldad.
We're going to bring in the next proper member of the Vanilla Idiots. Dots are cool. Meanwhile, the Haimari Fan Club.
Man.
Oh, Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse once again finding himself in the unenviable position of spin jumping on the turn blocks.
You hate to see it happen, folks.
The next member of the Haimari Fan Club coming to bat, we have Rambo 18 taking on World 5. So we have Team 1, the Haimari Fan Club, starting World 5. We agreed to this, finishing up World 4 as long as Mighty Mouse can take his hand off the A button. And we have Dots with the Vanilla Idiots just starting up World 4 after an unfortunate pinch hit scenario with Truman's internet conspicuously going out.
Mighty Mouse wrestling with power-ups. This is a stage that sometimes feels incredibly out of your hands. Those two Magic Koopas are way worse than normal Magic. I don't know how, but the addition of a second different type of Magic Koopa is exactly what the original Magic Koopa needed to have to become truly terrifying. Third Wall starting off World 5 strong with immediately flying over everything.
I had been informed that Third Wall had another level left because I mistakenly assumed that by beating the boss of a castle, the world was over. Apparently not. But Third Wall is gone. I think Third Wall took the first chance they could get out of here and just bailed. So, in lieu of that, we are just going to go back to Rambo because what would a Hyper 6 relay race be without just total jank? Just at every level, including the race operations. Meanwhile, Rambo is started up World 5, so it could have been a lot worse.
And Dots fails to clip into the floor there.
He does technically, I mean, he would have another opportunity if he can clip through this slope right here. It's a little bit janky, but if you have a slope underwater, you can crouch and soft swim against it to try to clip through it. It's unfortunately highly unreliable, and so there's really no way to force it to work for you, but as a backup strat, he is given it his best shot.
Dots caught between a rock and a hard place there.
Yeah, you definitely want that to go differently. Oh.
Ouch. That hurt.
Yeah, that Panzer's pretty miserable. The only reliable way to get past it is really to scroll it off the screen because it is a nightmare.
Meanwhile, Team 1 just keeps chugging along.
Yeah, Team 1's been on a tear this whole race. Which almost makes you question whether or not Link Dead Sabotage was truly necessary.
We'll find out with... I guess we'll find out when World 8 hits.
Maybe he's feeling a little unsure of himself in World 8.
The World 8 PBs are surprisingly close. I think they're within 10 minutes for all 3 World 8 runners.
That's incredible.
Yeah. For levels like that, it really is uncanny.
Mighty Mouse with that momentary pause of regret before re-entering the level. The universal sign of, I wish I could just stop doing this right now.
Who among us has not paused one time only moments before death? I've seen a pretty wide variety of strats for that ghost house that Rambo just finished. Some of them a lot sketchier than others, but Rambo really made short work of what is a challenging level, and not even doing it the intended way, thank God. And I think with this will be the last Switch Palace we see, at least from Team 1.
That is correct, yes. Yeah, it's unfortunate for Team 2 that Mighty Mouse has run into a bit of an impasse here at this castle, but it has given Dots the opportunity to make up some pretty significant ground on Team 2 and make it a bit of a closer race for second right now.
Yeah, it's definitely putting Team 3 back in this race. And this is by no fault, really, of Mighty Mouse. I feel like, you know, if you are unfortunately tasked with beating this castle, it really just is up to the Magic Koopas in a lot of ways, whether or not you're going to make it through there. Rambo inching this Vu block toward the pipe to go into the pipe.
That blue block is... I don't know what I like less, the boo block itself or the blind drop you had to have to land on it. But Rambo's through.
That is a temperamental stage with or without cheese, so I'm sure Rambo and Rambo's team are happy that that stage is over.
Oh no, Mighty Mouse. Oh no.
Mighty Mouse cannot catch a break today.
So the stage that Rambo is playing right now is structured in a very interesting way. There's this orb that he's going to attempt to get, and the only way to get it is pretty much using the speed strat that was invented by Rizifos, which is you hit the switch, you swim up, you fly, and then you do some fast vine climbing.
That orb is not the intended way to beat the level?
I don't think so. There's a much more awful and intricate series of things you have to do to get the goalpost at the end.
So so you're telling me that there's an orb in the level that isn't intended to be used. It's just there to exist and to confuse you.
That is not outside of the realm of possibility, given the other level design that exists in this game.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds incredibly Haimari, actually. That's the brand, baby!
You're nothing if you're not consistent.
You know, Rambo lost both of their capes in this level, but is doing a fantastic job of getting through this level, quote-unquote, the intended way. It wouldn't have shocked me for basically everyone's strats in this race to be an all or nothing. Either I'm able to use the cape to do things my way, or I'm just unprepared. But it does seem like a lot of these players have at least attempted to be ready for having to do these stages the sadly intended way. Great troll, Haimari. You did it.
Mm-hmm.
You tricked us with that gold tape and then warped us away.
Shame.
No, you're not mistaken. Those are actually the Dodongos from Zelda 2 in this game. And they're just trying their hardest.
There's actually a very curious thing about their sprite programming, which is sometimes it causes the music to slow down. And I've literally not ever seen that before. I'm really curious as to like how it interacts with the SNES sound processor to get it to do that.
I was about to say, you'd have to intentionally write code to interact with the audio processing unit, I would imagine, to get the music to slow down.
Lots of firsts here in Hyper 6.
Yeah. Rambo's unfortunate streak came to an end with a pretty nasty bonk off of a block while trying to jump with that spring. And Mouse gets the H in the World 4 Castle. And immediately goes back and gets power-ups.
Praise be. That's making short work at the end of that level. Really great stuff here. And that puts, that puts Dot entering the castle now, which catches him up at least partly to Mighty Mouse, giving us a real race for second place. Now, the two worlds that are the great equalizer for this hack are World 6, to a lesser extent, and truly World 8. So, no matter what lead these teams have going into Worlds 6 and 8, it's really up to those people on those teams to maintain or change places. If you've watched any of this race so far and thought to yourself, some of these stages are just mean, you actually haven't seen the hack start yet.
Well, you're also right, but you're also not even seeing the beginning of it.
This is the tutorial, and in World 7 Castle is believed to be the transition between the tutorial and the not tutorial, and the tutorial is firmly over in World 8.
I actually really like the World 7 Castle. Every time I say that, I feel like other people don't.
I am not using hyperbole when I say you are literally the only person I've heard say that.
That's also the brand.
That might be your single most polarizing video game opinion you've ever given.
Well, I'm nothing if not evocative.
Is it because it reminds me of something from La Mulana, out of curiosity?
It's a puzzle. Like, I mean, not a good puzzle, but it's a puzzle.
Okay.
And
definitely that.
I do love puzzles. And so once I was finally not playing it anymore, once I finally beat it and it was over, then I started expressing positive opinions about it. Yeah, I've got to reiterate that I definitely did not take people seriously when they explained that World 8 was on a different scale entirely from the rest of this game. You and Glackham both expressed sort of opinions about, you know, the hack just finally got started in World 8, and I was like, well, Worlds 1 through 7 weren't trivial, so that's got to be a joke. But I am 14 streams into World 8 now, so...
Too late to stop now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, why give up? Rambo is trying to get these spinning wheels through these corridors of spikes, and suffice it to say, they are very difficult to make work for you. It does seem like they are very often engineered to work against you.
I believe that's because they are.
Honestly, Rambo doing a fantastic job of manipulating it, though, to get to where they want to go.
Mighty Mouse is through the castle.
This rotating arrow sprite is actually an interesting technical achievement from 2010 because it's originally from Yoshi's Island, which used the Super FX chip to rotate its graphics. But there is no such accelerator chip here.
That is actually really impressive. Is it just a series of sprites, or...?
It's a sprite which... I don't know, rotates its graphics somehow. I haven't attempted to look at the code.
That's really interesting.
It's certainly too many frames to be, one map 16 tile for every frame of the animation, since there are lots of frames.
We were talking through that, but Rambo's strats getting through that castle were incredible.
That was
just skipping practically all of it. Not even... Okay, well that's frustrating to watch. Ground pounding to kill the boss. What a blow up.
A bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, that's another Resifo strat. Most bosses are not vulnerable to ground pounds like that, but this one happens to be, and that is far and away the most reliable, if not the fastest strat to deal with that.
And with...
Each of them takes 3 hits on the head as well, if I'm not mistaken, so that's considerably faster than the alternative.
And they will stun you with the ice that they're throwing. As well as when they stop, they'll also stun you. I don't know if you'll get to see that or if everyone is going to successfully do the Dwarf Fly ground pound strat to get rid of them.
Mighty Mouse is free. They have carried their bird into the finish line and passed it to Shavda, who's picking up and running for team We Agreed to This.
Dot's barely getting the checkpoint in his level.
I didn't want to say anything because that was...
Yeah, you want to wait till after to celebrate? After it has been done.
Thank you for the raid, Blazer. You are just in time to watch something incredibly hyper 6. If you're just now getting here or catch up to speed where everyone's at right now, Team Haimari Fan Club, currently represented by Rambo 18 in the top left, is on the World 5 final castle. Team We Agreed to This, represented by Shavda in the top right, is currently just starting World 5, and the Team Vanilla Idiots, currently represented by Dots Are Cool, are on the World 4 castles. So Dots is a couple levels behind Shovda, and Rambo has I would say right now, a pretty safe lead, but as we've said repeatedly, there is no real such thing as a safe lead before, frankly, until you hit the finish line.
Yeah. So that's Rambo clearing World 5. I'm sorry?
I got nothing.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens sometimes.
That's the most unassuming sentence in the English language.
I'm trying to figure out what it is. Is the it just randomly dying for no reason? Or was there a...
What did he get hit by?
Sometimes the game just decides to clip you into the ground during the boss fight.
Not in vanilla.
You are right, not in vanilla. But that is not an entirely vanilla fight.
Clearly.
All right, well, I mean, if I spend an entire day not seeing Hyper 6 pull off some stupid nonsense, then I guess I haven't really lived, have I? You know, I've gotten the opportunity to see Shubda practicing some of this, and her strats are just something else for World 5.
Well, Shovda is nothing if not a connoisseur of unethical Mario.
Yeah, unethical cape hacks at that. Yeah, she's absolutely no stranger to both cape hacks and a lack of ethicality.
Dot's finishing up the World 4 Castles, got one more relatively stress-free level left before we pass the ball to the next player on Team Vanilla Idiots.
And fingers crossed, we're not going to see Mario get clipped into the lava at the end of the boss fight again. Look, I root for an underdog, but that hurts to watch. Even the currently leading team, it really hurts to watch that level of suffering.
Mighty Mouse has a hypothesis about why that happens in that fight, but not vanilla, and that is that this game is haunted, which is that's plausible.
You know what? Yeah, actually, it sounds like just a silly theory, but that actually checks out.
All right, I'm going to assume that Rambo's good. I guess I should wait until I actually see
A3A.
And there it is, the A3A.
Yeah, finally.
Which means that Team 1 has entered the dungeon, and Dode is about to start World 6.
Yeah, so this is World 6. This is Suicide City, and it is it really feels like when you play this in the hack that it couldn't get worse than this, I guess is the only real way I can think to put it.
All right, my first immediate question for you is, where the heck did those Koopa reskins come from? Like,
I don't recognize it. They are hideous enough that I hope that they're custom.
It wouldn't surprise me if they were custom. There is some custom sprite work in this hack, and custom graphics are a lot easier than programming custom sprites. But on the bright side, you can use their torsos covered by shirts to do shirt jumps or torso jumps, depending on which you prefer.
I prefer neither.
Same.
That's fair.
Shirt jumps. So I mean, this level mostly speaks for itself that Dode's dealing with here. He's using the 64 speed you get off of the the bullies here to make some actually pretty awesome jumps. But you can just see how much this hack ramped up seemingly instantaneously. Even with all the suffering that our players have been going through, this feels like it's unfair by comparison.
With Dots having cleared World 4, we are bringing in the Patient Zero of Hyper 6, Reziphus, to represent the Vanilla Idiots here in World 5.
Yeah, so Rezi is notable for creating many of the strats that are used in World 5 by everyone in this relay. He, like me and Umar, is a cape enthusiast.
Oh, Toad went back for that cape and was punished appropriately for it. So now, sadly, Toad is going to have to play the end of this level as intended. He's trying to keep that screen scrolled so that the bully comes down before he goes up there. He can really choose to do it either way, but he ended up getting up there one way or another.
So let that be a sign of what is to come, if that is the first level here in World 6.
Should have to get in a clean takeoff to hopefully be able to skip some of the nonsense here.
Who is leading? Right now, Dode, representing the Haimari Fan Club, is currently in the lead. They've just started World 6, while Shovda and Reziphus are still on World 5. Although Shovda is getting close to the World 5 castle, so pretty soon the next participant of the World 6 crew is going to be stepping their game up, if you will.
Yeah, Shovda's absolutely making short work of World 5.
Reziphos unfazed by multiple bad turnarounds in a row.
That's just the way of life, though. The bad turnaround.
Shovda finding herself in a difficult position trying to get the rotating block through here.
Yump.
Shovda was going to try to play the level, but that note block decided that Shovda was done playing the level and would have to start over.
Shovda with a great dupe, which means that she's going to be able to get 2 capes here. That was really clean dupes.
Let's see if Shovda has a bit of an easier time navigating this corridor.
Yeah, last time we saw this level, there was a really good angle through this hallway that made it look really effortless, but now we're seeing what it looks like when you get even a little bit of a bad angle. God, those strats are incredible.
We told you Shovda was no stranger to cape, and we saw Rambo do this setup, and it just is so clean.
Shovda opting to actually take the circle block up here. You know, Rambo did some pretty sophisticated damage boosting and cape canceling to get up there. I think Shovda just wanted to make sure that she could get a cape up here.
and gets the ground pound. Meanwhile, Dode has decided to grace us with his presence and actually show himself while playing the level, and immediately regrets it as he gets hit. And so Dode has resulted back to flying over the level instead of playing it.
Anytime you have the opportunity to not play a level, I'd take that opportunity.
Oh, Shoved just barely getting nicked by that cement block. Shoved is showing off those block dupes again, though, to get Cape back.
Dode's doing his best to get through here clean, and he does. You could tell he was being a lot more careful right there toward the end, unsure whether or not he was going to be able to clear the last few obstacles with no power-ups. Shoved tried to fly over that block, but all it takes is one bad cape pump and you're out.
So if you were watching those thwomps earlier in Dode's stream, or coming up later in World 6, and you're wondering, are those thwomps sending out shockwaves? The answer is yes, those thwomps are firing shockwaves. And if your next question is, are they programmed to snipe the player at the least opportune time possible? They aren't explicitly programmed to do so, but they tend to anyway.
It's just a bonus feature.
And right now, if you can't see on Dode's stream, those yellow blocks, those are actually lightning blocks, and those will hurt you. Like that.
So this level that Rezi is currently playing is one that he attempted to recreate in Chinese BK Land, but it does not appear in that hack because he could not get the urchins to work. They would just sort of yeet all around the screen, and you couldn't like make them go in the set path that they go in this level. Truly a loss for ROM hacking.
What could have been?
It's a shame that Chinese Super Mario World was not able to be further improved by the addition of Hyper 6.
Shoved making World 5 look bearable. Shoved gets the clear on World 5 for the team We Agreed to This, which means that it's time to break out the World 6 runner for We Agreed to This, and that is Spud4343. Noted enthusiast of finding strats and routes for Hyper 6 runs of all worlds.
Yes, Spud is the first known person to publicly state that he would like to run this game in its entirety. Which is, both terrifying and impressive at the same time.
Oh, man.
Rezi getting very close to that corner.
Rezi had some fantastic looking strats there, too. Basically, just completely skipping the circle wheel entirely.
Shoved mentioning in chat that she just PB'd by 1.5 minutes.
Amazing.
Very nice.
Rezi heard you talking smack about block duping, and so he decided to just dupe 7 capes.
In case you need a few extras, 2 isn't always enough.
These strats Resi has are absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, they're kind of wild.
You can see sort of how other players have opted to take the ones of them that looked less terrifying.
No, he's all in. Oh, he got the lucky bullet.
Wow.
Yeah, that bullet really hooked him up there.
And gets the door flight for the quick kill.
Oh, Dode went for the block and... Oh, it's so hard to watch sometimes. Oh. Yeah, he tried to run off the platform to land on the block. Turned around too quickly and went for it anyway.
So yeah, if you also didn't notice something nice about the thwomps, they stun lock you if you're on the ground. So not only do they fire shockwaves at you, but they also stun lock you. You can tell Resi's played this before. It gives off that like semblance.
He is, after all, the world record holder in Volpe's friend.
That is true.
After watching him do some of this, I'm starting to see how so many people were conned into doing this relay. It's like the speed strats do look satisfying.
And just like that, Resi has cleared World 5.
What?
Whoa!
And the game decides that it will take from him instead of give to him. It's not really under your control.
Much. You know what that was? That was the all those unnecessary block dupes that Resi did to get like 7 capes. That was the
That's what he's
game.
doing now. He's gonna get 7 more.
If you mock this,
to the sun.
if you mock this game will punish you.
Yeah, on a serious note, we haven't looked into why that happens, but Rambo noticed a correlation between that not happening when he's playing this game without the fast overworld movement patch, and it happening with some reasonable frequency when he had patched in fast overworld. So one theory is the boss sprite, and bosses in Super Mario World are sprites like the Iggy and Lemmy fights. That ground is all part of the sprite. So we think that it's possible that that sprite, the Hyper 6 version anyway, is reading from memory it shouldn't, which is to say the overworld movement routine. And because that changed, it's now behaving differently. If the fast overworld is in fact causal to that happening.
How has Dots not done like 17 YouTube videos on this single game? I feel like there's content for months for them just here. Okay, well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's not going to happen. Resi gets through World 5. Gets the A through A, which means that we get to say hello to the World 6 runner for the Vanilla Idiots, and look out, it's Louie.
Owner of multiple world records, among them the only 1 hour and 21 minute time in Super Mario World 96 exit.
And here they are.
Is it possible
playing...
that Louis is too fast? I don't know. I'll leave that up to the viewers.
Some have said.
I've heard it said that Louis is in fact too fast. However, this is a very different experience for Louis is not used to playing games of this type of quality. It's really hard for me to say right now how much of a lead Team 1 has, because like you can tell that like they're further along in terms of levels, but Spud has been putting in some work.
Yeah, Spud's definitely trying to close that gap.
Louis getting bullied. But not for long.
And yes, before you say it, yes, this is the same background from that one level in Elephants. Yes, those are bullies. Yes, Morsel used a lot of these for not just Elephants, but for all of the stuff that Morsel's made. We know. This is where it comes from.
Yes, so not only is Morsel a big Haimari enthusiast in that he self-admittedly is influenced by it for his hacks like Storks, but he showed up in our Hyper6 community Discord and showed us some very substantial cheese for the World 7 castle, which prior to that was one of the most painful levels in the game up to that point.
You can't just fly over the level. That's illegal.
You're going to tell me you're not going to tell Louis he can't fly over a level?
I was thinking, Dode, we've got 2 offenders here. Dode's actually going for a pretty tough strat here. He's going to try to fly up into a pipe here from a normal fly, which means he's going to have to really get some serious cape control going.
I've got that very same obstacle in the first level of my ROM hack.
Well, I think that there is a statement to be made about using similar obstacles that Haimari used.
Dode backwards pumping his way to victory there. Very nice.
It really made that look a lot easier than it was.
It didn't look very
Definitely
easy.
another cape enthusiast here.
Doe definitely recovered from his rocky start to this world to start making some really good time.
So you think Dode's going to go back and get the secret exit there? We just saw the cape and the keyhole, or the keyhole and the key block.
I don't know.
So these sprites that look like munchers that move around erratically are an example of the fabulous custom sprite work in this ROM hack. They're called Get Piranhas. And they have lots of really nice bonus features, like checking where Mario is by the looks of it every frame, and sort of spazzing out when Mario changes his direction. They also change behavior after they eat a power-up. And the best thing is they don't check for whether the power-up has been collected, so they'll eat a dead sprite. And even if you win the race to collect the power-up, like they'll still eat it and like wild out and go after you more aggressively after they pass the point where the power-up used to be. Really is a phenomenal addition to this level.
It does make playing it a lot of fun.
How did they get their name?
These are some extremely wild no cape strats from Louis right here.
Spud with some really, really good spin fly through this.
Was having a tough time trying to hit that block with a spin, so he's just going to go back with a power up.
I am amazed that Louis managed to collect that backup cape. The gravity of his situation could not have been understated.
There's something very... It's a different kind... It's impressive on another level when you're watching gameplay this good in a game this bad. Like, it's one thing to be impressed by someone who's playing at a high level a game that you know to be of at least some quality. It's something entirely different when you're watching people perform at this level, knowing full well the game is actively working against them at every step of the way.
A game this bad forces people to be their best.
Wow. When you put it that way, it almost feels like this hack is not a war crime.
No, it totally is. But, I mean, I know plenty of very inspiring people whose lives were built because they survived war crimes. So,
yeah, I guess it really comes down to which moral philosophy you subscribe to. Like, there's some where intent matters, and then there's some where the ends justify the means. So it really depends on where you are on that spectrum.
Yeah, I guess we joke a lot about Haimari just being cruel, but you got to imagine on some level he really went into this hoping to make a good ROM hack.
he made an impactful one.
And it's certainly worthy of debate to answer the question, did he succeed in making a good ROM hack? Okay, so I'm looking at the chat and it turns out the answer is no. No, he did not.
That's fair.
So it turns out some philosophical questions do actually have answers.
I'm glad we can find a philosophy question that we can all come to a consensus on together. Is Hyper 6 good? No.
There is a World 8 runner in this race by the name of Bolap700 who will disagree with you. We're not quite sure if it's like thick sarcasm or Stockholm syndrome, but he has never backed away off the opinion. So whatever the psychological situation, it is at the very least consistent with him.
Likely to be an earnestly held opinion.
Munoz in chat saying, when asked to do a Hyper 6 relay, Bolop was sad there was no special world.
He then was happy that there was no special world after he saw the strats that LinkedIn came up with for World 8, which is to say skipping large swaths of the level with cape or spawn manipulation, which we'll get to later when the appropriate segment of a level shows up. Bolop is very much a fan of playing this game in its truest form as Haimari intended, because that is the best experience that you can have as a player.
I mean, you can be a constructionist about these things, but Is it my understanding that LinkDead is still the only person to have ever cleared Special World on console?
So he was the fourth person overall. I don't know if Bolop did it on console. I don't think so. But before him, it was Jeff W, who at the time and continues to play on ZSNES. And I'm not sure what system Ryu did it on, but it's also very likely ZSNES because this was not console compatible when he played it. So, at worst, LinkDead is one of two, but he may be the only one.
And when you say Ryu, you're talking about Ryu Car. He's actually played through Hyper 6?
No, just Ryu, Japanese for Dragon. He's a Japanese Let's Player. Yeah, back in the Nico Nico days.
Okay.
But let's be clear, Ryukar has already beaten this. Spud is not in a good place right now.
So morsel enthusiasts might notice the very quickly rotating spikes in this level that Spud is currently playing. And yeah, he got that directly from here.
So now you know.
So if you've really got a kick out of playing level 4 in Storks, then you've got Haimari to thank. For the record, I did not.
Did not enjoy it?
Not one bit.
Okay.
Quality level design there in Dode's channel.
Really, really great level design. You're right.
I would like to note that we are not even 2 hours in to what was projected to be from LinkDead, a 5-hour estimated race. And I have to say, all of the runners so far have been absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, for sure. Completing any amount of this game is a marvel. Louis successfully making it into the pipe.
Another noted cave enthusiast.
Ooh. Just one save more than they had in them for that one run. So the level that Spud is on is probably the level I've personally seen more people that play Hyper 6 than... I see them play this level more than any other, and for some reason this level for me just summarizes up until this point everything that Hyper 6 is and strives to be. Lakitus throwing bombs at you, blocks under your feet that break for no discernible reason.
The fact that the Lakitu can kill himself with his own bomb and screw you out of progress.
Yeah, there's just a lot to love here. Wow, could it get any easier?
I don't know.
Look at Spud making short work of this hack.
So I believe Dode is one level away, at least in terms of overworld, one level away from the castle of World 6. But Spud has caught all the way up to Dode, at least in terms of what level they're on. Dode's been on this level a lot longer, obviously, but Spud has been putting in a lot of work to close this gap. It's ironic that a person that actively seeks to play this game and seems to enjoy doing so is doing a pretty decent job at playing it. You shouldn't really have to say that out loud, but with Hyper 6 you kind of have to.
Dude, making this factory level look surprisingly easy. I take no joy in watching these speed strats be done to recreate hours of work that I did in mere minutes.
Yeah. This is a similar feeling to, like, after I had beaten Jump, I watched LinkedIn's 18-minute Jump 11 exit speedrun, and I was genuinely upset.
I didn't want to say anything because Louis almost had it, but Louis was dangerously close to saving that.
That is a fun fact, Supermax. World 6 Castle is the only level in the game which does not have a blue coin difficulty indicator. I wonder what it means.
It means it's not difficult at all. That's 0 blue coins.
Yeah, it sounds right.
I can't think of what else it would mean. How much is Dode ahead of Louis? It's kind of hard to say because we can tell you in terms of how many levels they are ahead of each other. I think Dode's maybe 2 levels ahead of Louis right now, but that doesn't really mean that much because any one of these levels can turn into a catastrophic, death spiral for any of these runners. So it's not. I think right now it's fair to say that Dode is in the lead, period. Spud is in second place, and Louis right now is in third. But that can change very quickly.
It's worth
really at
noting
any
that
time.
The purple water that Dode is dealing with right now actually reverses your controls. Every time he's out of the water, normal controls. Every time he's in the water, reverse controls. And the rapid change back and forth based on some of these strats is what really makes that room challenging. That room may not have looked all that hard, but...
And one of the bonus features of the purple water is that if you get stuck against the wall, it's really hard to escape. And usually, like, a sprite will snipe you and kill you, and then you die.
Dode getting the H after that boost swarm.
As is typical with Hyper 6, Dode has collected the midway point, which means he's now about 20% of the way through the level. This being the longest and most challenging portion of the whole stage. There's actually so much in this room to love that it's hard to really pick your favorite. The constant going in and out of the purple water, the one tile high portions of purple water that make Mario's physics work different based on whether or not you're big or small. The portion later where we're going to see tons of charging chucks and panzers constantly shooting fire in an area that you have to get close to them. It's just sometimes difficult to say what the best part of these levels are.
I would say the blind jump with the Panzer waiting to shoot a bunch of fireballs and kill you is my favorite part, personally speaking.
It's a good one.
Hard to go wrong.
Dode killed the Koopa that would have allowed him to carry the springboard up. If you're watching him confused about how to get up there with a springboard in hand, don't worry, he couldn't use that springboard. He needed a different one.
Wall jumps are not disabled in this hack. You can wall clip and you can wall jump.
We're
gonna see that come into play later in World 8.
Meanwhile, Spud has cleared the World 6 second factory, which means Spud is also on the World 6 castle alongside Dode. Louie's getting close, so do not count any of these people out.
Dode's been on this castle for about 10 minutes. You can start to see the scale of these levels. The fact that Spud has just entered this level, he's on the same level as Dode, and I would say he's nowhere near Dode right now. Team 1 is still a breakaway lead at the moment.
Dr. Cox, I appreciate the thought, but it's going to take a lot more than a participation trophy to give people fond memories of their time playing this and running this.
It's like a medal for surviving a war, really.
Again, we're back to comparing this to war crimes. Which, it happens, I will say, shockingly naturally.
It shouldn't feel so accurate to compare this to war, but it really does feel appropriate.
That was a very risky damage boost Doe just did through that Jeep.
Unfortunately, now with no power-ups, he's going to be heading straight into the Panzer Pit. There's actually 2 of them. He's got to get really close to one of them in order to get this P-switch. I mean, congrats to him. It's a real crapshoot, and Dode made it look effortless.
Special emphasis on crap. After all that, you really feel a very big sense of relief come over you.
It's good to see this.
Our good old friend Roy here.
Yeah.
And that is a clear for Dode of World 6.
Yeah, that's World 6 in the bag. We're moving on to World 7. World 7 is startlingly short, especially if you're playing this. You kind of expect this escalation to keep happening. World 7's a bit of a joke compared to 6 and then eventually 8. They're all jokes compared to 8.
The last level of 7 sneaks up on you, though.
It does. It absolutely does. Yeah, I think when I did it only took me one stream to beat World 7. The first 3 levels were over in like half an hour, and then the remainder of the stream was Castle 7.
And you weren't privy to a morsel clip, right? You just did it all on your own.
I did.
Puzzle god.
I am. I'm known for my puzzling skills.
Yes, we know Glackham isn't using the layout. Trust us, we're letting him know thoroughly at this moment. Noted Rayman enthusiast and connoisseur of incredibly unpleasant non-Kaizo hacks, Glackham.
Glackham has been there the whole way through my playthrough, constantly reminding me what a pile this game is. Glackham was far too busy being amazing at this game to follow the setup instructions for the layout.
Heaven forbid.
We
We're all good. It's all good now, though. No, I will say Glackham was one of the original crew of people that were playing Hyper 6 when I really started noticing it beyond just, mere mentioning. I mean, Glackham's obviously very well known for his Rayman runs, which he's incredibly, incredibly good at, but Glackham has a very interesting habit of only playing Kaizo Mario and non-Kaizo Mario hacks that just give people pain. This Mario is Stupid, Way of the M. Glackham's a connoisseur of this stuff.
It does seem appropriate to the sort of person who would willingly play Rayman. Glackham, I feel like, most notably for me, always seems to have the opposite opinion of everyone else on everything Hyper 6 related. Any stage that took other people a long time, he beat with little effort, and every single stage that seems to be a big joke to most people.
Low-key, Spud just cleared World 6.
Yeah, just like instantly.
Which means this race is a whole lot closer than people may have thought, because coming in now for team, we agreed to this, is going to be Glitchcat World 7.
That honestly does even things out quite a lot. I mean, that first stage can be quite quick, and with Glitchcat entering that stage as Glackham's clearing it, that really might put us on closer footing than we thought. The race for first place has opened up quite a lot, I would say.
If we go back and it turns out that Glackham having to switch his layout because it wasn't set up right is the difference between first and second place, that will seem actually oddly appropriate for a Hyper 6 race. So this level that Glackham's working on right now, the only word I really have for it is why. There's no music. You're not, like, that's not wrong. Like, there's just no music.
It's a stylistic choice.
Glitch made real short work of that first stage, though, so Glitch is going to be coming up on this same ghost house, question mark? I mean, it is a ghost house, but
Kinda, yeah.
it's certainly terrifying. I mean, I can go back and dig out Running in the 90s that I had for the KLDC stream if we really want some music, but I'm inclined to just let it roll. And it's done.
That's another level Glocka making short work of.
This level, you're familiar with Hyper 6 runs. You're probably really familiar with the first couple screens of this level, because this level is the level farm for many levels following it.
Yeah, this is the Cape Farm for almost the entirety of World 8. Yeah, not for nothing, Louis is really making some good progress, holding on to a power-up, choosing not to deploy it yet, but making good progress in the Castle 6.
Glitch with the sticky fly.
Oh, wow.
That is a very sticky fly.
I love this so much. That was a real treat to watch.
That was very impressive. There's unfortunately So is that how sticky fly works? Once you get started, it just kind of goes until you break off of it?
It's very sticky.
In general, yes. Although there's a certain kind of slope which will break it if you initiate the sticky fly in a certain way. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, that's generally the case.
So this secret exit here that Glackam's going to go for actually cuts out almost all of World 7 here. Going straight from the 3rd level to the castle.
Ooh, Glitch unfortunately getting the very, very worst of snipes. And we've got more bloody tears.
So what Doe just did there is what we affectionately call the morsel clip.
That clip was incredible.
Do you wish that you had known, or would you have still experienced the puzzle that is that level in its entirety?
I would have probably still done the puzzle, honestly.
You meant Glackham, right, BK?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Dota's World 6, Glackham's World 7.
This stage had some really novel ideas. Wish those ideas had been put in a different ROM hack, but there were some real ideas here.
These little tornado thwimps that really just...
Glackham is executing this world, or this castle, amazingly well. We'll see him go right back through, since it's pretty easy for him to get that cape that's on the other side.
And Glitch Cat has cleared this monstrosity.
And Glackham scrolling to the right before entering the door is RNG manipulation, so that you get a predictable Wendy spawn pattern in this boss fight.
That's wild.
And that, I believe, is World 7 for Glackham?
Yeah, that's World 7.
Which means it is time.
Compared to the ordeal that World 6 was, that was quite a quick World 7.
So, having thoroughly sabotaged Team 3, we now see the triumphant return of one Link Dead X2 as the anchor leg for the Haimari Fan Club.
The strongest wills are necessary to make the hardest choices, and the first of our strongest willed players is LinkDead X2, who has beaten this game, including Special World.
So BK, do you want to kind of break down for people who are unfamiliar with World 8, kind of how it's structured? Because it's got a bit of a different... It's got a very unique setup compared to, well, at any other Mario hack, but definitely even within this game.
Yeah, so it has two main arms. There's two barrier towers on either side that are necessary to be cleared to open the path that goes straight up through the middle to get to Bowser's castle. So both of those arms are necessary to complete in their entirety.
And it doesn't matter what order you do them in, as long as you do them both.
Right. The actual destruction of the barrier towers on either side is what opens that path, so you can do it in whatever order you'd like to. The stage that LinkDead is playing right now is the first of many gimmicks in this world, where in this room right here, you actually can't... So there's a Fishin' Boo, a very aggressive Fishin' Boo, who cannot be killed, and really prevents you from being able to... This room is just miserable, and I hate that there are strats that make this faster.
Yeah, I'd like to put an emphasis on what a good job Haimari did in making this difficult to cheese. So you can't spin jump, so you can't bounce in the Fishin' Boo. You can normally kill a vanilla Fishin' Boo by sliding with Caper just down a slope. That too has been patched out, and that is especially impressive given 2010 ROM hacking. It's almost expertly sadistic.
Yeah, the lack of a spin jump and the inability to kill the Fishin' Boo means that he is a constant threat. Now, by making it to this spot right here that LinkDead is at, you know, he's not in the clear yet, but he's close.
Glitch Cat getting the World 7 secret exit.
With that, he'll be heading into the castle soon, and...
But hold the phone. Louis has cleared World 6. Louis has gotten through. Which means it's time to bring in the next Vanilla Idiot. Our World 7 runner for the Vanilla Idiots. Seathorn.
Morsel Clip claims a victim.
As so many morsel-related things tend to do. So, LinkDead is on the second level of World 8, Glitchcat is on the last level of World 7, and Seathorn is just getting started with the first level of World 7. And I want to remind everyone, not only did everyone volunteer well, let's say volunteers. That's a very strong way of putting it. Agree to participate in this. Everyone that you've seen so far on Team 3 did so in a case where their participation was not required for this race to happen. They are doing this strictly out of some semblance of pride slash I don't know what the other word for that I'm going for. I don't think there's a word. I don't know. Some
For
emotion.
the love of the game.
Yeah, I would have said for a love of the game, but I don't think any of them love this game right now.
I think the ones that are done are feeling a little bit better about it than the ones that still have to go.
Brams points out that the number one requirement to be a vanilla runner is to hate yourself, so that played a big part. That's a good point, Brams.
That is actually something I'd failed to consider. The vanilla idiots have a definite advantage on the other two teams in terms of self-loathing necessary to play a game like this. So we see Eldad Cloud. So that's a hitbox that Link Dead just experienced. But they're through it.
Looks like he did not do any RNG manipulation.
Yeah, I think he's just playing this thing straight up and gets through it.
Makes him today's hero.
Glitch Cat getting the clear, which means that the team captain for We Agreed to This is about ready to come out of the gate. And this person's been waiting to come out of this gate for a long time. Bolop has entered the race.
Bolop notable for being the third person to ever clear the special world of this hack.
I believe Bolop is starting on a different arm than Link Dead did.
I think this is the same one.
You think? Okay. I didn't see the overworld when it came in.
Yeah, this is the Boo level. The Boo is the second room. They both did that one first.
Okay.
Bulop opted to take the midway and then immediately die. I'm not sure if that was intentional so that he could get more power-ups or what, but going into that second room without double power-ups would be probably a mistake anyway, so whether it was intentional or not, it's almost certainly for the best.
Everyone just take a second right now and just marvel at what Link Dead is doing.
Way better than doing that level the right way.
Well, the right way is not always the intended way. It depends on your moral universe.
And yeah.
I've always tried to live by the philosophy that cheating is good, actually.
Cheating is such a strong word, though. Taking advantage of all the resources given to you to find an alternate solution, that's not cheating, that's just resourcefulness. Even if sometimes that's using a hammer to break a window.
You know, for having lost his cape, Link Dead is really doing a great job of cleaning up the remainder of this level.
And there it is. Seathorn getting the secret exit in World 7, which means they are getting closer to joining Teams 1 and 2 in World 8. Seathorn getting morsel clip.
Bullet managed to get through the end of the Fish and Boo section quite cleanly. I mean, the damage boosting is not a sign of whether or not this was a clean approach. Unfortunately, didn't do the jump to despawn the Fish and Boo. So ended up taking that really unfortunate hit when he had the end in sight.
Hontaro, you assume correctly there is no special world in this race. If there was, we probably would not have 3 teams.
Imagine agreeing to participate in this and being the poor rube who had to play Special World.
Fun fact, Bolop beat the final level of Special World a second time just to practice up on Super Mario World when he felt rusty.
Did it succeed in making him unrusty?
Oh, beating that level absolutely has the effect of removing any rust you have in this game, yeah.
So yeah, if you're not familiar with Bolop's work, Bolop is a real deal. To say the very, very least. It was really fun actually watching Bolop and Tofu go back and forth for the elephant's record, because it felt like Bolop rising up from the depths like Godzilla to reclaim a record that no one had tried to touch.
And with Seathorn beating World 7, we have the third strong-willed World 8 runner, Umario. He holds the distinction of not having ever beaten this game, and in fact only doing runs of World 8 starting a few days ago. The condition that anybody else would participate on the Vanilla Idiots team was that Umar himself would run World 8.
Do you think Umar got a bad deal out of that one?
Are there any good deals here?
Okay, that's fair.
There are worse deals. I would say that no one got a good deal, but Umar may have gotten a worse deal. Link Dead with the reset strats. The double reset strats.
So let's take a minute to talk about the cape tech that Bolop is using in this Fish and Brew room. There is something called a takeoff meter or flight meter in Super Mario World, and that is if you have cape and if you have P-speed, when you jump, there is a counter. It starts at 80 and it decrements 1 per frame. So you have, within that time frame, 80 frames in which if you jump and you have a cape, you will get flight. So even if you take damage and lose a cape or get a cape again, or if you dive bomb and jump again, or even if you slide off the edge of something, if you have flight meter, you will start flying. And that is the tech he uses in this room to get through that 1 tile wide tunnel and then gain flight again. He still has flight meter left over from when he gained flight before that.
Bullock doing a remarkably good job at consistently getting all the way to this point. This point is the real... It's the point in which it is possible to beat this level. Everything before then is up in the air.
Triforce.
This LinkDead's actually showing us our first example of the high gravity room. That is definitely going to be a major element going forward in World 8. This high gravity feature is controlled by on-off switches, where when the switch is in an on state, the gravity is very high, and when it's in an off state, it's incredibly low. So low, in fact, that if you are floating with a cape, it actually pulls you upward.
Legitimately one of the scenarios where I'm like, I can't even begin to guess whether that was intended or not. I guess it doesn't matter at this point. The race was Eldad's idea, I believe. I think BK may have originated it, but Eldad's the one that actually drove the bus on this to make it actually happen, I think.
Yeah, I came up with the idea, but Eldad definitely gets credit for all the actual organization and putting the teams together. I guess with the exception of the Vanilla Idiots team, which for some reason just begged to be a part of this event.
Umar getting to a worst fight, and we have a boss fight. We have our first big boo fight.
Yeah, it's both interesting and unfortunate that the Vanilla Boss and Vanilla Boss customizations sort of abruptly stop at World 8, where everything is more terrible than in any other world.
There we go. LinkDead has cleared the right side barrier tower, which means he's one step closer to left side barrier tower.
This level here that LinkDead is on right now, I don't know how hard this level is supposed to be, because it is trivially easy to complete with a cape. I was in and out of the stage in 5 minutes. Volop's actually doing this level the intended way, which is honestly wild, because I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Is there a cape in this level, or is intended actually without even having a cape, which makes it that much worse?
It's intended without cape. Yeah, there's no capes in this level.
Yeah, so if you have a cape, you can at least, have a lot of time to correct your trajectory for bouncing on this saw. It's absolutely bonkers without it.
Yeah, the hard part without it, I would argue, is actually less to do with bouncing on the saw and more to do with actually being able to kill those four-way bullet bills.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Bolop flew a little too close to the sun with that vanilla strat.
Yeah, Jeff W, you mentioned his casual playthrough, he didn't do any cape farming. Like, he used whatever power-ups the level actually gives you.
Yeah, Jeff W. is, as far as I know, the most recent Haimari intended clear of this game. And for some of these levels, it's so much harder to do that with the special level, the last level notably. You pretty much fly over the last 3 of the first 5 rooms, and you'll get a whiff, a soupçon of what they're like when you see players fly over them. And those last rooms are absolutely terrifying looking to do without flying over them.
I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to you say that word again, because that was a very impressive word you just pulled out there.
My good friend BK has all of the greatest words. Yeah, LinkedIn had a slightly more sophisticated way of getting into cape flying in this area. Bolop going for the gamble on the turnarounds, but thankfully managed to end up in the same situation. So now struggling to actually fly up into the loading zone. You can tell Bolop's really got a great handle of cape flying. This is not trivial.
That is a very, very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah, Bolop, another noted cape enthusiast, beat Volpe's friend, I believe, 100 rooms of Kuso, and working on the 3rd Pagyo hack, Volpe's senpai.
BK, do we know if Pogio's played this on stream?
Hyper 6, you mean?
Yes.
I don't think so. The only thing he's acknowledged is that he downloaded this hack in 2010 when it was released, when we asked him about it.
Bolop getting through the right side fortress, moving on to the right side barrier tower. Eldad is maintaining the lead for now.
There's no part of World 8 that is not just crushingly depressing in its difficulty. LinkDead is going to go pick up this fire flower over here that he didn't even know about until he watched me. He didn't even know that fire flower was there. So you can credit me entirely with his success.
Tyrone asking in chat, what is the hardest stage in World 8? I don't know how subjective that question is. I am going to cast my vote for left side barrier tower, but I'm certain Off and BK will have other opinions.
Well, I haven't beaten Abyssal Bowser, but my understanding is that it's worse by far. Left side barrier tower, however, is the origin of many great migraines.
Yeah, Abyssal Bowser is widely agreed to be the hardest level, with left barrier tower taking 2nd place.
My understanding is that it's not subjective, but I guess I can't register an opinion until I've actually beaten Abyssal Bowser. So we can see Bolop is going to go for the same cape flying strats to get out of the top of this level. We know that because he already spawned the vine and let it die pretty early. If he wanted to do this room as intended, he would have had to either wait or do quite a bit of work to get that vine up to the very top. So we know that he's going to be flying all the same.
Speaking of left side barrier tower, Link Dead has officially entered the level.
Left Barrier Tower's seen some strat improvements more recently. I mean, BK definitely knows a lot more about that than I do, but the one really obnoxious room, at least, is the second room. This is just the first room with the high gravity on. If it looks a little strange what's going on here, that's because it's all high gravity. And it works about as well as you would imagine something like that to work in Super Mario World. You do get sucked into blocks and die. You do sometimes have bad interactions with sprites and die. So it's obviously not perfect, but the second room is pretty tough too. It has the opposite, the low gravity with an upwards auto-scroller.
Sometimes
Yeah, one of the bonus features of this high gravity ASM is that its implementation is believed to be to just reduce Mario's Y position by a certain amount every certain number of frames. And so what that does is it breaks the collision detection between Mario and sprites and Mario and blocks, so you'll just casually clip into parts of the level. And that has been exploited to their advantage by some of these runners. Like you can clip it to the ground and go under enemies.
Yeah, Link Dead didn't like my strats for the end of this room where I skipped all of the hard stuff at the end of the room by clipping into the block. And see where that got him? Now he's dead. So I think we can see who wins here.
Sounds about right.
You might wonder why Link, all things considered, has chosen to not get power-ups for this room. The main reason... Jesus, I'm sorry, Link. I take back all the mean things I said. The main reason for that is because the way that the high gravity actually interacts with Mario in the water makes it honestly nearly impossible to jump out of the water with the high gravity effect in place. So small Mario is, for better or worse, your only option.
Bolop clearing the Boo fight. Staying about even. Not gaining on Link Dead, but not losing any time either.
And Umar closing the gap with Bolop pretty quickly there with that boss fight.
The race for second is very real right now. And I don't want it to sound like first is a lock, because it's definitely not. But right now the real close race is between Bolop and Umar.
Yeah, I think it's been a few years ever since we've seen someone not just fly over this level that Umar is on. Oh, and so right now Link Dead is in this room where he discovered some very delicious cheese. And that takes advantage of the fact that in Super Mario World, blocks in a level spawn in before sprites do. And so because he can go above the screen, because this is a vertical auto-scroller, Link Dead only has to worry about hitting himself against blocks, which are, the occasional spikes, and he does not have to worry about dodging the sprites. And the hardest part of this ascent that he's in right now is dodging the sprites, in particular those ninjas that you saw bouncing around. It's considered to be the hardest trick in this room. It is extremely tight, and he does not have to engage with it because he is above the screen. before the ninjas spawn in.
And just a reminder for everyone.
Trying to play this level more or less correctly.
I think it's in his roots as the world record holder of Lunar Dragon that he wants to explore the level in its fullest. You know, maybe see where the dragon coins are.
There might be a moon up. Yeah, there might be a moon somewhere. I have no idea how any of you played this level that Link Dead's on without that cheese.
I tried to beat that room that Link Dead just beat without the cheese, but then, instead, I used the cheese.
And you are better for it in every way.
Somebody from chat asks Oth if you have seen Special World.
I have only seen Link Dead link the clip of him clearing the last level of Special World. I feel like he showed it to me as a sort of cautionary tale, saying, look, don't get suckered into making an agreement to do Special World because this is how bad it is. But I really feel like it had the opposite effect, because I saw it and thought, well, now I have to beat that.
No, you don't. No, you do not.
Yeah, you're not alone. In fact, I believe the reason Bolop began to play Hyper 6 is because he was impressed with that level and wanted to experience it himself. So you're the second person it's had that effect on.
It's obvious that it's suffering. It's obvious that it's a really bad level. But at the same time, won't I be real proud of myself if I beat that level?
One can only hope because of how much it will take from you in all other dimensions.
It's true.
Real quick,
I've already given up so much.
Umar has passed Bolop for second place. They are basically a screen apart at this point, but right now, Umar has a very slight edge over Bolop for second place.
Yeah, so some parts of Hyper 6 like this one, you basically need to be prescient. You need to know what's coming up, and you can only learn that by dying several times. For example, these currents will push you to the right and prevent you from moving to the left. You can only move right slightly more slowly by holding left. And that pipe entry that Umar just died on is especially vicious because it's a very tight window to enter it.
No one has ever done it successfully. It's that hard.
The true final boss.
No second chances there.
Bolop taking a shot at it now. Bolop getting it, though. That's actually a huge swing.
Yeah, that is a...
This room's a huge troll. The orb is directly below you. If you move a little bit left or right, you get to do the whole thing over again. Congrats to you.
And just like that, Umar's lead is gone over Bolop. And it's gone from being screen synced to now Bolop is on barrier tower, and Umar still has to get through this level first.
You know, LinkDead said he didn't like my strats in this room because he had better ones. I gotta be honest, he did die a whole lot less than I did. You know what? I'm gonna say it because everyone else is too cowardly to say it. I don't think that this last room here is actually all that bad. I think that its real crime is that you don't get to see it often enough to come up with any strats. You have to just sort of suffer through it little by little. I think that if there were if there were a midway right before this room would be perfectly fine.
What I just saw on LinkDead's stream really makes me think otherwise.
There's a lot in here that would be perfectly fine with just more frequent checkpoint placement.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the theme of the whole hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking about LinkDead's room. He's working on left barrier tower, and it is a truly awful stage. But I think it's mostly awful because of the entire first half being awful, and because of the checkpoints being so poorly spaced. Most of the World 8 levels would benefit from being turned into 4 levels apiece. You could make an entire hack out of splitting up World 8 into its constituent pieces.
Oh yeah, and you will notice that Bolop has just entered the second room of left barrier tower without the aid of the blue switch block underneath the door. Yeah, for reasons unbeknownst to me, it looks like you get that wall clip for more than 1 frame.
Yeah, it looks like you could stand there indefinitely. I've never seen a wall clip like that. Usually you get ejected from the wall really easily. But
Yeah,
it seems like that wall clip, you just stand there. So, no, there's no issue with entering the door.
If there were a sprite platform there, like an extending platform, that would be understandable, but I think it's just blocks.
It has to be some sort of weird interaction with the extra gravity ASM or something, but I've just never seen a wall clip that you could just stand in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's the high grav ASM.
That does explain now why blue switch is optional. I would have not assumed it could be skipped because of that block, but fortunately Haimari made the high gravity work the way it did, so.
Fortunately.
All part of his plan, I'm sure.
Bolop using the same strat LinkDead did, staying above the screen. Realistically, we could see teams 1 and 2 being even. It's hard to say if LinkDead clears this level now, then he'll have quite a lead, but theoretically, if not, then we might be back to an even race. Yeah, the trick to this Boo fight here is that one of the blocks is actually hidden behind the HUD. Undoubtedly intentional in its design. Because just looking at this room, you would swear that there's only 2 blocks in it, and Big Boo takes 3 blocks to kill.
If you were playing blind, you might notice it if you were lucky and have a single-digit number of coins, in which case you get a few more pixels of the block exposed up there.
Oh, that's true.
Low percent strats. LinkDead is our first runner to clear both barrier towers.
LinkDead making some short work of World 8. Left side barrier tower. A huge... trying to avoid saying barrier because that's the word I already said.
I mean, it is. You can call it that. It's in the name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty big gatekeeper for this world. So he went for Sticky Fly under the stage. The second half of the level is right on the, about 1 screen to the right there.
And White Moth confirms for us in Lunar Magic that there is in fact an invisible sprite block next to that door, which is presumably why you can just stand there.
Why? Why is there an invisible sprite block there?
Smile and nod, Oth. Smile and nod.
The ultimate troll, tricking you into thinking you have to do the horror that is the blue switch while not actually needing it. So anybody who just decides to see if they can stand on it will get lucky and not have to do blue switch. I don't know. That's the most sadistic thing I can think of, and therefore it's probably the correct answer.
I don't know whether or not to be impressed or upset by that.
You can be both.
I guess that's true. I never thought about it.
It's impressively sadistic.
It's a real quiet form of sadism, you know? I'm having a hard time lining up one of those shell jumps. The timing on it is tricky. They move so much faster than you expect, and you get very little warm-up time to know when to do it.
Yeah, I think you have 2 chances to get that. It's extremely rough. And LinkDead using the dive storage technique again to skip the first half of this level.
Now, if he had done this level properly, we would have already seen this mechanic, this shoot 'em up section. It's a little bit interesting the way it works. This one is much harder than the first one. The idea here is that your coins are your fuel, so you can see up at the top his coins are counting down. Once they run out, the ship crashes. You can only dismount it once it starts to crash, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's conscious about which coins he's collecting and how many he collects. He doesn't want to collect all the coins, but he also doesn't want to run out. He wants to collect just enough that it gets him to where he's trying to go. So he lets himself crash right there. The room's actually really challenging to do well, so kudos to first trying that room. Hopefully it pays off.
This Reznor fight that LinkDead is currently doing is a lot harder than it looks because you actually can't land on the edges of the blocks by a few pixels, so you have to pretty much land dead center in the blocks or they'll just shoot you down and then you die.
Let the record show that Team 1 has reached Abyssal Bowser in sub 3 hours.
So there's still 2 small stages before Abyssal Bowser itself, but they're
Bowser's Castle.
They're trivial stages comparatively. But he's making great work of World 8. I guess I'm eating a little bit of crow here. I'll never admit to it again.
It's okay, no one's watching this.
And if anyone clips it, I'll deny it. This, considering I just got baited by it, I feel like I can speak to the fact that this is such a ruse, because you're playing through this level and it really feels like, oh, okay, so this hack's actually going to end pretty easy. Compared to all the nonsense that you just put up with, this stage feels like it dialed itself all the way back to like World 3 difficulty.
Bolop has entered the boss fight for left side barrier.
There's that sneaky hidden block he's standing on with a double-digit number of coins, so it's very hard to see.
So 1/10 of the time, you can see that block.
And Bolop's out.
Very nice. Umar, in the meantime, making his way through the second half of left barrier tower. He's a big fan of the sticky fly under everything possible strats, as you've seen here. I don't think anybody's tried to do this. Bolop successfully sticky flying under the first half of the Gradius level and getting the checkpoint there. I didn't want to say anything until it was over, but Umar losing cape in the left barrier tower boss fight, being very careful, and eking out a victory. Very nice. Link dead first to Abyssal Bowser. Not technically the final level of this run and of this game, but effectively the final level.
Technically, the hack starts here.
I believe this is what the memes call the real Dark Souls.
It certainly is dark, although not advanced dark. Could you even imagine?
You can't just shell jump over everything. That's not fair.
I think they're giving the hack the treatment it deserves, and maybe even invited. Umar, in the meantime, sticky flying under the Gradius level first half and getting the checkpoint as well.
I have absolutely no idea how Link Dead knew how to finish that room. I could watch that a million times and still not know.
It takes a while to figure out if you're doing it blind. So this final level, graciously, is an example of flight being disabled in the first room, but not in subsequent rooms. So as of room 2, you can fly, and you can see LinkedIn making very short work of the rooms after the second one. The strat that he's doing right now is called the Lucky Fish strat. Whether these bonefish spawn close enough to you for you to spin jump on them and get on top of the level this way is basically RNG based. But we can see that LinkedIn got a lucky fish and he bounced off it, and now he's gone. He's flying over the room. This level in particular, this room that LinkedIn is on in particular, like, look at what's going on the screen as he flies over it. There is stuff flying at you with, you know, effectively no warning to react to.
You'd be a fool to play this level correctly, or as intended.
And LinkedIn gets the checkpoint in what is effectively the final level. While Umar beating the Gradius level and making his way to Bowser's castle. And Umar just beating Bowser's castle and making his way to Bowser's emergency exit, which is a short reprieve right before Abyssal Bowser.
So, you all saw how many rooms LinkedIn had gotten through before he unfortunately took a dive. This is a very, very brutal level, in part because the checkpoints in this level are not in your favor.
Yes, so this being from 2010 means that it predated the multi-midway patch, which is pretty common in hacks these days, where you may have, you know, a checkpoint per room and like a 5-room castle with a checkpoint every room or something. And Haimari either didn't know about or chose not to implement 1-up checkpoints, which allow for 2 checkpoints per level. So at most, every level in this hack has 1 checkpoint. And to get to it in Abyssal Bowser, you have to get through 5 rooms. And there are more than 5 rooms in the second half, and it's not advisable that you fly over any of them, because there's a room, the one that LinkedIn is playing right now, which is quite close to impossible to do with a power-up, because you have to swim through 2 tile-high tunnels of death blocks. So the strat that I'm pretty sure all runners are going to use is enter the second half of Abyssal Bowser small, and then deploy cape as they're finishing up the water room, because the cape comes in handy in the rooms after that.
So that's on that on the screen that Bolop is on right now. It's very hard to tell at a first glance that some of those are safe to stand on and some aren't, and sometimes you just can't tell from looking at it when you have to make a snap decision on where you have to jump. Umar is in the emergency exit, going to be pretty close to joining our other 2 racers in Abyssal Bowser, and just like that.
Yeah, so we've got LinkedIn on the second half, and Umar and Bolop on the first half. With Bolop quite possibly getting the checkpoint this run, because he's past the hard part. Will he get a lucky fish?
I don't know.
And
These
there
fish,
he is.
there it is. Those fish weren't
Yes, the
nearly as
lucky
lucky
fish.
for Bolop as they were for Link Dead.
Yeah, as Glackham points out, if you have 2 capes at that point, you can just lose 1 cape and still come out on top by getting the checkpoint. Since after you take off from there, it's fairly straightforward. Bolop gets the checkpoint, and Umar fails to get flight in the 3rd room of the first half. You hate to see it.
Eesh.
So this room is where you'll probably see all the runners deploy cape. Because it's useful for a few things here. You can use it to cape cancel this section with the Lotus. And it's good for clearing out this chuck. It makes the platforming vertically easier here. And up above, it's going to be used for killing some chucks and clearing out some moles and super Koopas.
All right, well,
Unfortunately, it does. I'll go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do need to run, and I also can't afford to have any more spoilers for World 8.
That's a
so
good point.
I think this is the part where I'm going to have to dip out. But good luck to our racers for wrapping this up.
All right, Oth, thank you very much for joining us here.
Thanks,
Yeah, for
Oth.
sure.
Thanks for coming out. Good luck
Take it
in your
easy.
own adventures here.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah, I was about to say that cape does absolutely nothing for you in the room that Link Dead is entering right now.
That door does not look fun.
It's not. And if Link Dead had not pressed left there, he would have gotten crushed against the right wall. And this is independent of the fact that they're hurt blocks. The conveyor will just clip you into the solid block, and then you die.
And then you die is basically how you can describe a good amount of the end game of Hyper 6 is just you enter a level and then you die.
I should take a minute to talk about where "And Then You Die" comes from, since we have such a large audience. There is an especially sadistic Kaizo hack that many people may be aware of called Super Responsible World. And Dode is the only person to have ever cleared 1.0. And during that playthrough, FT029, the author of the ROM hack, was in his chat explaining how some of the levels worked. And he would lay out in great detail the intricate net that he had woven to kill you in his levels. And then he would end each explanation with "And then you die, sad face." And that really took off in the community. All right, Link Dead making his way to the what is effectively the final boss of this game.
Here we go.
First phase down.
Oh, you thought this would be a one-phase boss fight. That's adorable.
And he's done it.
There it is. That is not technically timed, though, correct?
That's right. In a show of his usual dark humor, there's this final level in which there is a Chuck reskinned to Baby Bowser, mad at Mario for killing his father, and so you just have to beat a Chuck, and then you get credits.
3 hours, 16 minutes, and 50 seconds, I believe. Eldad and the Haimari Fan Club take first place in the first ever, quite possibly last ever, Hyper 6 relay race.
I hope for everyone's sake that it's the first and the last.
Phenomenal job to all the runners. Again, shout out to all the members of the Haimari Fan Club. It was a true team effort. It wasn't just one person. LinkDead definitely put the work in, but this was a team effort. Congrats to all of the runners, but we still have 2 teams left that are willing to put the work in to finish this out, and if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to do my best to stay here as long as it takes for everyone to get through this. So,
speaking of which, Umar getting the lucky fish, and has one more room to go in the first half of Abyssal Bowser for the checkpoint.
Forgive us as we do quick.
Oh, that's a new feature.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that from my old restreamer days. Umar gets the checkpoint.
This is a B4 special.
Umar getting the checkpoint, tied with Bolop, both in the second half of Abyssal Bowser.
So it's been back and forth, but we're at a place now where these 2 racers are very close. This is a race. This is a full-blown race now.
Yeah, it is nice to see that, taken on the whole, all the teams performed like relatively consistently, in spite of how difficult various sections of this hack were.
Every team had their uh-oh, Umar.
Umar getting bullied.
There we go. They've both entered the swim room. To reemphasize, yeah, go ahead, BK.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say to reemphasize for everyone, Umar has never actually beaten this fully that we are aware of.
No, yeah, he's never touched this game up until a few weeks ago when he started practicing ILs, and a few days ago was his first run, clocking in at a very impressive 1 hour 20 minutes. Although he does have the benefit of, very well-developed strats from people who have played through this entire thing.
It does also help it is worth noting that being Umar does help in scenarios like this.
Uh-huh. Thanks for the raid, LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Good job again.
Congrats on the awesome World 8.
World 3 and World 8.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's. I think it's fair to say that not only did LinkedIn pull out the win for the Haimari Fan Club, but I think if Umar were to carry this through, I think it's fair to say that LinkedIn was responsible for both the first and the second place teams winning their respective ranks.
Technically correct.
Or would you say that the real MVP for Team 3 was Truman? I guess it remains to be seen how we'll put that out.
I have a feeling Truman's going to be hearing about this for a non-trivial amount of time, unfortunately.
I guess the real question is what Truman will go through worth not having to play Hyper 6?
That is an excellent question. And despite what he loses as a result of his power outage, he definitely gained a lot by not having to do this.
Umar, unfortunately, getting clipped by that baseball chuck.
Yeah, this section is very hard to do without a cape, which Bolop has also lost. And one of the reasons Umar died was because he too lost cape. It is preferred and intended for the strats that everyone does to have cape here. It really helps out with the platforming and clearing out the enemy spam here.
Whew.
Yeah, this is one of the parts of the level where cape spin really gives you a leg up on stuff like that.
Bolop's through.
Yeah, this is quite possibly the most tense room in the level because the way it's designed is there is no forgiveness. If you take a hit, you will lose your people in. And unless you're in a very specific situation, which is to say you have a spare cape and you can manage to land on a people block, which will let you continue the level, you're going to die.
Oof.
Ouch. And Bolop takes death.
This is the world they've chosen to live. They signed up for this. They knew this. They knew this was a potential when they signed up for this. So Bolop's actually taking a death on the swim portion of this level. So if you are just now tuning in, you missed a lot. I'll be fair. I'll be clear. This is the last level of an 8-world relay race between 3 teams of 8. Each player on a team took 1 world. This is Hyper 6 by Haimari. Rather than try and explain to you what all these racers have gone through, I would just encourage you, when you have a chance, to go back and watch the VOD from the beginning, because there's no real way to explain everything that they've gone through to this point. But we've got Umario from the Vanilla Idiots on the left, and we've got Bolop 700 from the team We Agreed to This on the right. Both players are on the second half of the level Abyssal Bowser, which is heinous. And that's the only word for it. And they've both ended back up here in this swimming room. I believe that's correct. LinkedIn entered World 8, I believe, at 1 hour and 58 minutes. An exhibition race of the last level of Special World would probably take as long as the rest of this relay put together. I'm just gonna... What I'm trying to say is not today. Maybe later, but not today. It's certainly not going to be me running it.
I think it's something Bolop might agree to, but I'd have a hard time finding anyone to race against him.
I don't know.
LinkedIn would do it.
I don't know.
Yeah. We should probably let him speak for himself. Are you still here, Link? Would you?
We're going to let the silence speak for itself there. Oh,
he's here.
Eldad.
We agreed to a special world race against Bolop. Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Not right now, to be clear.
His reply is WTF. Well, that answers that.
That could go either way.
Bolop and Umar, screen for screen in the water room.
The sync, though. Bolop with a bit of a more bold strat there. So seeing that Bolop lost his cape, there's no cape for him to get back. He's gonna have to do this room capeless now.
Yes, there is no more cape. At least in this room and the subsequent room. I forgot about the final room, but the final room is easy enough that it doesn't really matter.
Chains, Gold Mask. We are at the 3 hour and 30 minute mark of this. Jen's part was the first 10 minutes. And I do not say that to denigrate what Jins did at all, because Jins killed it. But yeah, it was a fair amount of time ago.
All right, and so the reason Bolop caught that balloon with a duck jump is that if you duck jump into a balloon, even though Mario has his normal 2-tile high animation, you can unsee, and it's hinted at by the fact that his head was just in the wall, that his hitbox is only the bottom half of Mario, which is essential for getting through some of these spike sections, because it's borderline impossible to do for a human. If you're not crouched, then you're actually 2 tiles high.
The labels are not swapped. Umar is on the left, Bolop is on the right.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, it was Umar who did the duck into it, not Bolop.
Goodness gracious, Umar.
All right, Umar is now in the final room before the boss fight, opting to fly over what he can. Taking a hit here doesn't really matter because these boxes and the boss fights themselves replenish your power-ups to what is intended for this fight, which is fire flowers. So Umar dispenses with the first phase. Not getting hecked by these bullets here is really key to the second phase, and he dispenses with them.
Umar's on phase 3.
Using Link Dead strat.
Damage boosting strat.
And Umar and Vanilla Idiots take second place in the relay. Excellent work, Umar.
From 0 to 3 hours 33 minutes. It'll be 3:34. Almost exactly 3 hours 34 minutes. GG Umar, GG Vanilla Idiots. 18 minutes in a 3 hour and 30 minute race behind the Haimari Fan Club, which is absolutely fantastic.
You can tell that Umar was meant to play this game because if you look at the credits on the left, his name is literally in one of the credits. Kaizo Umario Aproda.
It was destined. It was destiny. Well, we are not... Excuse me. We are not done yet. We still have one more team that is going to finish this any minute now.
Link Dead in the Hyper 6 community Discord saying, I can't believe my team got first and second place.
Someone needs to. So if it turns out that Bolops this whole time has just been Eldad in a trench coat from the second half on, and Eldad gives himself first, second, and third. Although it does make sense. You were the one that said that Bolop. Excuse me. You did say earlier that Bolop is the one person who will sit here, who will say definitively that they believe Hyper 6 is a good game. It does make sense then that Bolop is the one that is most taking a leisurely path.
Yeah, he has to savor it. It's the scenic route. You gotta take the time to take it all in.
So where does Hyper 6 go from here, BK? Does it go to full game runs? Does it go to more relay races? Does it go to the grave and stay there? Where does the future hold?
You know, it's hard to say. If you told anybody watching or anybody playing that this was going to happen even 2 months ago, you know, they would have looked at you like you said you had invented time travel. So I hesitate to put off any future accomplishments in this game. Although Spud has definitively expressed his desire to do a full run of any percent, and Shavda is considering it, and I think leaning towards she's probably going to try it. Those are the most extreme things we have planned for this, as far as I know.
I think the only, if that's how they want to spend their time and their livelihood, I do not blame them. They are free to do so. It would not be what I chose, but that is strictly just me. So Bolop actually has a backup cape, which I think is going to help them get through this room immensely.
Oh yeah, having two capes here is definitely where you want to be. Dode says...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Dode says, the real winner was Truman's electricity because it didn't have to power this cursed game.
That's fair. Shavda in chat is claiming that you played a role in her decision making to potentially run Hyper 6. So she's blaming you at some level.
She's right. I have incentivized one way or another multiple clears of this game. I am definitely not innocent here.
Nathrock is asking, how gnarly is the bonus world? Yes. Yes, it is.
Let me dig up some Twitch clips for you to answer that question, since I think it's better than trying to use words to describe it.
Yo, GG Umar. Well done. That was a really great World 8 and a really great performance overall by the entirety of the Vanilla Idiots, who truly lived up to their name.
We are very stupid people.
Yeah, Umar PB'd by doing it at all.
Alright, so that clip that I posted in chat is the answer to the question of how bad Special World is. That's the first half of the final level of Special World, which only 4 people have beaten in the 10 years that this hack has existed.
Bolop is approaching the final boss. The 4 people, Mika, the 4 people that have beaten this are Eldad, Bolop, Jeff W, and Ryu.
Bolop making his way into the final Bowser fight. Effectively final, I should say. Gets past the first phase.
So can you beat this fight without... You can't beat this fight without Fire Flower, can you?
You cannot, but the fight gives you flowers in the beginning, so...
Okay.
It's fine. Now, notably, he went with a different strat, and GG, by the way.
GG.
An impressive feat regardless of the time, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So Bolop going with a different strat there, which is to hit Bowser from the the first note block that he spawns on. Whereas Linked and Umar were much more aggressive.
And it is done. 3
It
hours,
is done.
41 minutes, 38 seconds. All 3 teams sub 4 hours. That was an impressive display of terrible decision making.
I think that was objectively the worst thing that this community has ever done.
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. GG, Bolop. GG to the entirety of team. We agreed to this. I have no words other than thank you all. I think Third Wall said it best. GG, everyone. Let's never do this again.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No.